man. You know, if I had a production behind me, I would be throwing things at people and friggin' blaming everyone for everything and yelling and screaming. Because I have to fight the urge to do all that in the house. And, you know, I'm a pretty nice guy generally. But yeah, I become a jerk before each show.
Settle down, Michael Douglas. And what's up, hey, Brian, Jeremy, Chad, Phil, everyone who's currently joining us right now. And if you're just now seeing the show for the first time, welcome to Frak, a film podcast where Adam and I just gush about movies and talk incessantly about things like we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I mean, we watch a lot of movies, so yeah, I'm Frak Adam.
And I'm Film Frak John. Welcome.
I'm coming to you from not so sunny Perth at the moment.
Down under, huh? Yeah.
And you are
I'm in New
United
Hampshire.
States of America.
New Hampshire, baby. You know it. And let's just talk for a second about the fact that we're both unintentionally wearing John Carpenter shirts. Huh.
Well, I very intentionally did because of the first film we're reviewing.
I know, I mean at the same time, yes. Like it's the irony.
Yeah, no, it is funny. It's not just John Carpenter, dude. It's Kurt Russell. Like we're
yes, we both wearing Kurt Russell shirts. Which I mean,
it's not like I'm wearing a Starman shirt or something. Like,
fucking always wearing.
I love Starman, by the way. No way was that a dig at Starman. It was just the first one that popped in my head. That with Jeff Bridges nearly has as beautiful hair as Kurt Russell. It's a hair thing.
That makes sense. All right, man. So do you want to get right into it? Do you want to just start talking about some stuff?
Sure. My phone decided for some reason it just didn't want to look at us anymore, and I can't keep track of what's going on. So just give me 2 secs.
Sure.
Get this stupid thing back up so I can respond to anyone that has anything interesting to say.
Jeremy likes our shirts.
Boring to say.
As well he should. I mean, they're great shirts. But thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're trying to make some changes to the show as we progress. We're trying to get a little bit more, bring a little bit more quality into it as we move along. We're doing our best. So.
Thank you. And Jeremy Ty, you had really good observations last week and this week as well. Yeah, I agree with you totally on what you're saying about biopics, especially they're trying to fit it into a 3-act structure, especially if those people aren't dead.
Unless you're watching The Dirt, in which that is just like that's just as straight-laced and accurate as you can get, and then a neat 90 minutes. You don't need any more of that. That's pretty accurate. Did you watch that one?
That film fucking sucked dick.
I enjoyed that movie tremendously. So bad. I thought it was like that movie starts off with a chick squirting in a chair. She's getting banged, and some dude's like doing blow in the back. It's as appropriate as you can make a fucking Motley Crue movie, in my opinion. But
well, see, I'm not a Motley Crue fan, but the book The Dirt is arguably the finest book ever written of the rock and roll fucking lifestyle ever. And the fact that all of them are so fucking oblivious to just how fucking repulsive they are makes the reading so much better. And the fact that the film instead elevated them up and didn't actually explore just how fucking unaware they were and actually make it so it was almost like a deconstruction of that cliche, because they're just walking cliches.
Sure.
There was an opportunity to really make a really good black comedy satire that deconstructs fucking the rock and roll lifestyle and just how fucking these people in a bubble that don't know anything about how toxic and repulsive they are, how it actually is to actually learn that. And instead the film kind of took all the wrong lessons from the book.
I saw it more of as like a parody. It's very self-aware, and to be honest with you, like for the fucking genre of music and the band itself, like I thought it was totally fine. I enjoyed it. I thought for what it was a good time. And that's really all I was looking for from that movie. But I also never read the book, so I have no frame of reference for any differences that might have existed. But
in the book, they're like one step away from. I mean, they walk the razor's edge of just joking about like Buddy fucking killing someone and shit. Like when he ran over the person, and they kind of are so oblivious. They kind of joke and they just are so throwaway about it, about killing someone.
Yeah.
Murdering an innocent person in his Porsche, and stuff like that. Like, the book's a real like problem. You can tell that those, you would not want to be in the room with any of those fucking assholes.
Oh no, there's
unless you're really,
DJs.
really, really high and on the ride with them. And even then, yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of being high and on the ride, along with someone, what do you want to? You want to get right into VFW? Kick things off with our first film.
Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us. Rick's just checked in. Yeah. Okay. yeah. Let's start with VFW, which is, it seems like looking at the list of films we're going to review, the midnight movies. That's what that's what these. There's like 4 or 5 films that are just midnight movies. Like that thing that I was just talking about. Like, you know, the drunker you are, the better they're going to be. They're designed for when you're a little hazy and it's late at night. They're films that it's better to probably watch with a bunch of friends than alone.
Yeah.
And the first one, VFW is shamelessly saluting John Carpenter's assault on Precinct 13, and by default, Rio Bravo. And it has the John Carpenter style, the music, the fucking camera, even the characters. You know, it's I won't say it's the closest to a Carpenter film that we got, because I think Midnight Special might be that.
Midnight Special
isn't a Carpenter film.
That's a great movie.
But VFW has some really simple goals, and I think that it achieves it. Bunch of fucking great badasses of the past come together. I mean, you got Stephen Lang, you know, Mr. Avatar, Mr. Avatar, Stephen Lang. You got friggin' William Sadler, Mr. Reaper. Good old Fred Williamson, our pal Fred Williamson.
Who we interviewed.
We interviewed Fred Williamson. If you go to the filmfrak.com site and find our Fred Williamson interview, you'll see it's an amusing interview. That's all I'll say on that. I don't want to ruin anything for you. And Martin Cove, Mr. Karate Kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and David Patrick Kelly, Warriors come out to play. Because I mean, by default, every John Carpenter film is kind of almost a Walter Hill film too. So there's certainly some Walter Hill-esque things going on in VFW. And I don't want to elevate the film to say that it's on par with those guys, because it's not. But as someone who fucking loves that stuff so much, you've only got to reach a certain bar before I'm going to really enjoy the film. And I enjoyed VFW. Oh, that's right. And George Went's in it too.
Yeah, George Went's got a little cameo in it, yeah.
Sitting at a bar.
Yep.
And not channeling Norm, because he's, you know, I like, you know, the first thing that I really like about this film is just how big of fucking assholes all these guys are. There's not one, I mean, you're rooting for them in the same way that you root for like Jack Burton, but by the same token, you know, Jack Burton's a fucking jerk. And so are these guys. You know, especially Stephen Lang, like. You got a bunch of old dudes who are fucking in a bar drinking at their VFW, local VFW, and then as sort of non-specific threat in the form of a drug gang, sort of ends up, you know, holding the place siege and wanting to come in, and they just have to fight them off, and it gets really fucking gory, ridiculously gory in the best ways.
Yeah.
With all sorts of fun weaponry. Some of the weapons they use are really amusing, and I found myself giggling through most of it, and on the surface it was really good seeing these guys going at it. I think that's sort of the best setup for what VFW basically is. What do you got anything to add on the setup?
I didn't like VFW. It did nothing for me, and this was one of those movies I've been waiting all year for. I've been waiting forever for this movie to come out. I think it was beautiful. I really liked the way it was shot. I like the colors. I loved all the colors and like the film grain and stuff, and I like the look of the movie a lot. But I genuinely didn't like it. I had a hard time with it. It just didn't work for me. Like I feel like all those guys are good. All those guys are great, like, supporting character actors. But you put a bunch of supporting character actors together, and as badass as that group of people should be, like I couldn't stand like any of them. Like I thought they were all like either underutilized or trying too hard. Like none of what I was hoping for that movie to be, it was. Like it just, I had a really tough time with it, and I watched it late at night. I watched it with a couple of buddies, and like I couldn't do it. It did nothing for me, and that makes me sad. It really makes me sad to say that, because that movie, I feel like that movie should be for me, and
absolutely, it should be for you.
It did nothing for me.
I didn't have a terribly high bar for it to cross, as I said. For me,
I didn't either. I really didn't either.
I mean, first of all, I did love seeing all these guys actually getting to step up and be out front. I enjoyed that. You know, all of them are really great personas for me, and they all played into their images in a way that I enjoyed. But yeah, I mean, I need something specific from you. Like, I mean, obviously, you've already said you just didn't think that they can
yeah,
hold it as supporting.
I don't.
But
Yeah, I
but
don't
like
think
the story
anyone.
was fun, right? I mean, it's nice and simple. It's lean. It doesn't try to be more than it is. It
But
knows exactly what it
I don't
is.
know, man. Like it's just, it didn't do it for me. Like I felt like it was trying to be like trauma-esque at certain times, or most of the time. Honestly, it felt like it was trying to be like a trauma movie, but in the far as like it's the absurdity of its plot and shit like that. But like it just never got there for me. Like it took itself too seriously at times, but then it would just shift gears and just be fucking ridiculous the next second. Like I didn't quite know what it was trying to do. And I feel like a movie like that should be very definitively like pretty fucking specific in its tone. And it shifted gears too many times. And I didn't like any. I fucking loved seeing that roster of people. Like seeing that lineup is absurd. That's such a good lineup of people. But I didn't like any of their characters. I didn't root for any. I didn't like any of them. By the end of the movie, fucking Buddy's just sitting there at the fucking bar. I was like, I just didn't like. I didn't like any of what was going on. It just didn't do it for me. Some of the and it was very oddly like weirdly directed. Like sometimes it was directed well, and then sometimes it wasn't. Like you'd have all these really great build-ups to like a really good gore scene, and then the gore would look great, but the way it was shot was bad. So it just looked. You could see that like someone was like putting an axe like behind a crease somewhere. Like you could see it being poorly shot and not accommodating the choreography well enough for what was happening. Like it was like building up towards this big gore scene, but then it's botched by how it's filmed. I just couldn't like all these little things that kept taking me out of it. And like I'm not expecting a lot from this type of movie either. I just want to be able to enjoy some good, honest stupidity, but I couldn't even. It just didn't do it for me. I was genuinely bummed out. But like I said, like I really liked how I really liked the color and like the look of it. I liked all like the weird props and stuff. Like the sets were cool. It just didn't come together for me. All of the pieces didn't quite fit in that puzzle that I was hoping it would. But I'm probably wrong, so that's okay. I'm willing to accept.
You know, 90% of human beings could turn around to me and say, I didn't like VFW, and I like would have shrug it off. I have no problem with it. It's made for a very specific market.
I agree.
And I think you and I are that specific market, and yeah, I am shocked and dismayed you didn't enjoy it for what it was.
Me too.
I think the gore had a chance. I liked those little faults with the gore and stuff. That was part of the fun of the throwing back again. You know that it was. It obviously it didn't pull me out of the film, but I do agree there was times when the way that the effect was achieved was very clear how they did it.
Yeah.
But that's sort of the charm of a lot of those older films for me as well. And I kind of enjoy. I mean, I like practical effects straight away. So I'm all for that. Too. And I like how excessive it went. Like I liked it. It went really fucking gory and stupid.
Yeah.
And I didn't quite pick up those tonal shifts that you're saying, other than in the same way that Carpenter, again, I'll just keep on coming back to Carpenter. I mean, Troma obviously is a midnight movie genre as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see why that was also something you were seeing. But I would never have actually thought of Troma if you didn't mention it to me. But now that you have, I think the gore was definitely Troma-esque. And I think it did it better than Troma. I mean, I think it did everything better than Troma. And I like Troma films for what they are as well. I mean, Toxic Avenger is fucking great, and
Surf Nazis Class of Nukem High and shit.
Yeah, Class of Nukem High. You know, that they're a very specific moment in time, and they're incredibly terribly made films on every metric.
Yep.
Like the sound is terrible, the camera work's terrible, and everything. This had none of those things. As you've said, you've at least acknowledged the camera work is good. I thought the performances was. Everyone got at least one good monologue, and they were really fun fucking monologues. I agree that the characters weren't likable. That's kind of, again, the shtick. Like, they're a bunch of arseholes. They're a bunch of old, grumpy, crotchety arseholes.
No, I get that too.
And like a bunch of crazy weapons and fucking, you know, axes and friggin' baseball bats and.
I get that. I get that totally.
They do the escape New York thing, and away they go.
Yeah, I totally get that. But like those guys like that are playing those roles, like I just expected so much more from having that group of fucking all stars like in that lineup. Like I just expected that to be that to be like a fucking like an all-star team, but I didn't care about any of those characters. Like in the way like George Wendt is so underutilized, and he was just out of there. He was just out of that movie in like 10 minutes, and like I don't know. I didn't like. I don't think it would use any of them well at all. I don't think it used any of them to their strengths. And it's weird to see Stephen Lang, who's usually pretty like rock solid. Like I didn't like Stephen Lang in it. And I like Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang was awesome in that. What was that one where he played the blind guy?
Don't Breathe.
Yeah, that movie's fucking great. He's a ghoul in that movie.
Insemination.
Oh, that movie's so good. But yeah, I don't know, man. It just didn't do it for me. Which, like you said, it doesn't make any sense, and it's one of those things I'll have to acknowledge the fact that I'm wrong on. If you like this sort of movie and you're like, yeah, you're wrong, I'd be like, cool, you're right.
I'm not going to say you're wrong, but I might question that you might want to give it another revisit in a couple of years when you're in a different frame of mind.
I tell you what,
it does confuse. It does confuse. You know me. I'm not going to push things down your throat unless you're really wrong, and there are times you are, but this is not one of those times. It's like fair enough. It just surprised me because I know your sensibilities and I know that VFW is right in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, I agree, man.
It's in my wheelhouse. You know, our wheelhouses are the same when it comes to this type of film.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, you demand far less than I do from these films too.
Yes.
Like far less. Like the things that you can fucking watch and enjoy that are pieces of shit that even I can't go to.
You're not wrong.
And you know, and yeah, I don't know. I just think there's an uneven metric that you're using here to assess it when I know the other things that you do like.
That's very fair, and I can't dispute anything you say. If this was a tribunal, I would be fucking guilty as charged on everything you just said. So
I'm gonna watch VFW before I watch Escape from LA again.
Oh, Escape from LA is such a piece of shit.
Oh, it really is.
Who fucking brought up Escape from LA the other day? One of our buddies was bringing up Escape from LA.
Dan Wilder. Hey, Dan Wilder.
Dan, I love you, Dan, but your fucking Escape from LA is such. Dan loves trash worse than I do. Dan loves like a whole fucking Dan loves trash. I would love to talk to Dan about Veronica. I'm sure Veronica. I'm sure he fucking loved that movie. I would love to know. Would love to know.
And this is not a criticism of Dan. I love Dan too, and I love people that you just put up a picture of you as a handsome motherfucker.
I hit the wrong button. I was going to change my background so we could start in our next movie, but I hit the wrong button.
Oh, that's a subtle way to say shut the fuck up about VFW and let's move on to the next film.
I mean, if you want to talk about VFW more, we can. I don't really have much more to say.
I think we've talked it out, and we don't need to fucking piss on Escape from LA anymore, or you know, just acknowledge that Dan Wilder's great, and he has a.
Dan's amazing.
Give him a plug. What's his website again? I've got a mental blank.
I honestly don't know. So we just.
I'm so sorry, Dan. But
we love you.
Chime in if you're watching.
And we do love you. Ready to talk about Biggity Bam.
Okay, just hang on. I'm going to do the same thing because we are state of the fucking art here. Oops. Sorry, I'm on a new computer here and I just ruined what was coming up. But there we go. Okay.
We still got the training wheels on here, folks. We're working out the fucking bugs as we go. So
yeah, I mean, we're never going to be professionals anyway. I swear too much for that.
Come on now.
Fuck that shit. I guess as I said, we're doing midnight movies, it seems, and After Midnight, the truth is in the title. Well, I took the lead on VFW, so how about you give a quick snapshot of what After Midnight is?
Sure. I will be happy to. I've sort of been going like back and forth on this movie. First of all, I want to start off by saying I gave this movie a 3 out of 5, but I've been wrestling with that fucking rating like ever since I gave it because I don't know if it's more than that. I don't know if it's right, if that's accurate, but After Midnight is it by the guys who directed The Endless in Spring? Is it by them, or did they just write it? Or I know they had something to do with it.
No, it's directed by a guy called Jeremy Gardner who wrote, directed, and starred in Battery. That really cool fucking zombie film. There was a low budget zombie film, but he acted in Spring.
Oh, okay.
In the film Spring, there was the Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead film. They're the guys that did The Endless.
Yeah, that's credited in the trailer and stuff.
Resolution. Yeah, and The Endless, Resolution, and Spring are their 3 films. Those 2 guys, and then Justin Benson's in this as well. So there is certainly a
connection,
an incestuous kind of blending of those 2 things. But yeah, Jeremy Gardner wrote and directed it. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
Yeah, this After Midnight. It's sort of advertised as like a monster, like a mysterious monster movie. And I was genuinely surprised at how it's not really that at all. It's really not that at all, but it is at the same time. So there's a good portion of the movie where the first 20 minutes The first like 5 minutes really had me locked in, and then I spent the next 15-20 minutes after that kind of wrestling with whether I was going to shut it off or not, because I just had no fucking idea what direction it was going in. I couldn't tell if the acting was good or not, but I stuck with it. I just kept going, and then progressively you realize that the acting is fucking awesome, and the characters that it introduces you to slowly are awesome, and they have such great back and forth, and the dialogue is really great. Like there's this really good character dialogue going on. And the story, it's almost, I don't know. I don't know if I can even say the story because it's sort of spoiling it to say what the story is. Like, it's kind of a love story. I guess like it's more of a love story than it is anything else. But it's also a fucking monster movie. But that doesn't really pay off until it does pay off. And when it pays off fucking huge. And that's all I can. I don't know how else to explain this movie other than that, because it really,
it's a rom-com monster movie.
Yeah.
It's a rom-com monster movie. And it does it in a way where you're either going to go with those tonal shifts or you're not.
Yeah, I had a hard time with it too, but stick with them, yeah.
I liked it. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I liked it. And the reason I liked it was everything you're talking about made it very unique.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
I mean, you and I watch so many fucking movies. Like straight away, I was constantly intrigued with what the director was trying to achieve and why the choices were being made that were being made. And I went through, you know, the same. The first 20 minutes really grabbed me. Then the next 10 minutes, I got put into a position where I was like, okay, this thing's just defying my expectations.
Yeah.
And every time I'm expecting it to do this, it's doing something else. And immediately, that 9 times out of 10, that means I'm going to rank this film pretty well. Yeah. Because I like my expectations being fucked with.
Yep.
Then there's that element of, it was just throwing out these really great little ideas. The existential crisis this guy's going through and the way that it's examining love and relationships and resonated with an honesty, and then to sort of frame it within a creature feature. And, you know, I think that's what we've got to emphasize for expectations, because I actually didn't know what I was getting in for. Like, literally, the only reason I must see this film was because of the guys who did The Endless Spring. You know, exactly how you started it was exactly why I was tuning in. It was like, well, Justin Benson's in it, I'm seeing it. Jeremy Gardner's in it, I'm seeing it. And that was it. So I didn't actually have any idea. And from the poster, which you can see in the background there, you know, I was sort of expecting a monster movie. And so readjusting that expectation to realize that, no, it's kind of more of a ponderance on love and relationships.
It really is, man. It's a really good one too. It's
and gender. I mean, well, and gender, and the fact that the he said, she said element of it, and the way that that's actually delivered is very unique. And it's a cliche to have the he said, she said. Oh wow, we both experience life differently. The way this film did it was really interesting. And the way that it made it so that there's a point around the middle of the film where you kind of have to let go of everything.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have to go, okay, maybe this isn't a monster movie. Maybe this isn't a romance film. Actually, maybe this is an anti-romance film. How about I stop trying to put this into a box and I just fucking watch it and think about what's being presented and not try to figure out where the fuck it's going or what it's trying to achieve. And sometimes that's really frustrating. Like, there's plenty of films that I can list that do that, and I go, fuck this, I'm really struggling with this film. But because this film's done in such a, I mean, it's well made. Like, let's
it's
start
very
there.
well made. Dude, it's the cinematography. I
was shocked at how good the cinematography was.
Yeah, the cinematography is awesome. Everything about it, like you said though, like it's that wrestling with the expectations, because I was expecting to go in to see one thing, and then that slow burn that really just shifts gears a couple times. And I was annoyed. I was genuinely annoyed for a while watching this movie. And then once I finally just like let myself get involved in what was going on, I really liked what it was doing. Like, I liked the story. I liked the way it was presented. I like the protagonist a lot. Like, I really like the way he handles his fucking catharsis at the end. That was great. Like, he just really has this great, like, the way that's all handled is awesome. And then on top of all of that, it fucks with your expectations the whole movie and presents you with this like sort of complex like romance drama comedy monster movie, which pays off huge at the end. That payoff at the end, that ending is so fucking great. That end of the very, very end of that movie is so fucking great that it all just like, I did like, that's why I gave it a 3. Like, it's definitely, I think, more than, I think you're hit the nail on the head with like a 3.5 out of 5. But the way that really just comes together at the end. Like I haven't been able to stop thinking about that movie since I saw it like 3 weeks ago. Like I just keep thinking about it, which is a sign that I need to watch it again. Just now that I know what happens, I really feel like similar to like Come to Daddy. Like it might be one of those movies where the more you watch it, the better it gets, because the mystery is, the mystery, and now you can just enjoy how it's being presented rather than struggling with it. So
well, full confession, I watched it twice.
Did you? Okay.
I had a similar experience with it. Like I watched it the first night and went through this journey that we're talking about, where I had to let go of the expectations and everything. And I actually didn't know. It's one of the usually I watch a film and I know what the fuck I think about it. And it was one where I was like, there's things I liked, there's things I mightn't have liked. And then as I was trying to put it back together, I was realizing it's like, I didn't like it in the moment, but now that I know the big picture, I think I do. And so I was like, okay, fuck this. To be fair to this film, and I wanted to be fair to it, because, both you and I encourage this sort of cinema, this low budget fucking people that are willing to go out on a limb, making films in genres that we love, and just making fucking movies, man. And so I didn't want to unfairly judge it. And I walked away from it thinking it was like a 2.5 to 3. But then it kept on niggling at me.
Yeah.
And it kept on niggling and niggling and niggling. And so a week later I went, I'm going to watch it again because I know what to expect now. I'm not going to be trying to figure out the mechanisms of where it's going. I'm going to be able to figure out the mechanisms of how it's achieving those goals. And when I watched it the second time, that's when I actually knew that I liked it, that everything it was doing worked. Because I remember there was a couple of moments when I watched it the first time too, where I was like, why the fuck is that? Like that karaoke scene.
Yeah.
The karaoke scene's a really good example. This karaoke scene where you've got this character that's been set up to be this fucking loser who really makes the wrong choices nearly all the time and kind of is oblivious to just how his actions affect people around him. And then suddenly he's kind of a really great singer. And so, I found myself thinking, first time through, I was like, he's singing so well. Is this film going to end up where he gets a music career? And so that kind of was really out of place, and it didn't fit in with what the character was, because I was like, how can this guy be such a loser when he's such a great singer? And don't get me wrong, he's not like a great singer, but it was just that it wasn't. I would have expected the acting choice to be, let's have this guy sing off key. Let's have this so it's just another really bad choice he's making. And then it was the second time that I went through it that scene actually elevated a lot of the fucking themes and ideas that you kind of don't find out about until the last 15 minutes. I was like, all right, that's a fucking good. That is the right fucking choice to make. Okay, well, you smart asses.
I really like I like the dynamic with the friends too. Like all of the friends, like that group of friends that they have. I really like the dynamic they had too, because like it was neat to see like a movie where like the group of friends are actually like close and have history together, and there's like they might know each other's dirty laundry, but there's nothing but like it plays out like real friends who know that but still love each other do. Like there was like a real good chemistry between all of them, and like even when they were talking about something that was personally uncomfortable, it gets like there's still like it's cool to see like the group get silent and watch it as it happens, but then like crack jokes about it. Like the dialogue is really good, like the way the friends talk, especially the friend there, his best friend there, the one who's got like the kids, and the one who's drinking fucking skunk beer out of the fucking bar mats and shit. Like the dialogue, man, they have some really the dialogue is just really good. Like friend, I love that like punchy. You and I both do, like that Shane Black-esque like sort of friend dialogue that it's so hard to write, honestly, unless I really think After Midnight's I would just say stick with it. Like if you're watching it and like after 20 minutes you're kind of like, what are we doing here? Which you and I both admit that we did. We're just kind of struggling with it for a little while. Stick with it, because it really, once you just embrace what it is, it's fucking beautiful what that movie is. It's a really solid flick.
Yeah, and there are little segues where it goes down paths and doesn't follow through on them, and like introduces a subplot or something that doesn't end up getting fulfilled. And usually that's a flaw. But in this, again, once I saw the big picture and thought about it all, I was like, I kind of like that. Like, it's almost like, now that we're talking about it, and I'd never thought of it this way until right now, but I'm thinking that if you and I were still on the same fucking planet and in the same place, this would become one of our hangout films.
I agree, yeah.
Because that repartee between those friends, you're so right. I mean, the acting, we talked about the cinematography and the technical side, but also the acting was really fucking
good. Yeah.
There's a real naturalism to it where you kind of know, Granted, in this case, a lot of those guys are friends in real life, so it rolls over. It stands to reason they have that chemistry and you almost imagine that might even be how they fucking banter when they're off camera.
Yeah.
You know, just being a bunch of jerks to each other and stuff. But it would have possibly been a hangout film for you and I. Not like
I totally agree, man.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nice guys kind of hangout film, but a different sort of hangout film. You know, there's almost a swingers-esque kind of element to
it. Honestly, yeah. Like there's so few movies with that sort of really. You and I both love that buddy fucking dialogue. And that this really has it. This is a lot of different movies. I almost kind of. It's not like I don't want to put it on the same level of quality, but I feel it's kind of similar in that like The Man Who Killed Hitler and then The Bigfoot, where it's like a movie that fucking totally messes with your expectations and then delivers on all of the things that it says it is, but is also so much more. Like obviously that one's a little bit more in the quality range. That one was a fucking weird masterpiece.
The Man Who Killed Hitler and then Bigfoot, seriously, is one of the best fucking films, like, period. Like,
it's great.
That thing gets a 4 stars from me.
Yeah.
But it really is a 5-star film because it's its own thing. But yeah, I mean, I would have put After Midnight, a good double would be Colossal. You know that Anne Hathaway one?
Yeah. That was really good too.
Yeah,
I wound up watching that like 4
again,
times. That movie's fucking good.
Yeah, I love Colossal. I loved it. I mean, again, and that was another one of those films where the same exact thing, like around the middle of it, you're like, what the fuck? Is this a film commentary on gender, on relationships? Is this a monster movie? Is this, where the fuck, what the fuck, why the fuck? Yeah. And then, you know, and then it ends and you go, I don't know. Colossal was one I also had to watch twice.
Colossal's really great. Jeremy
and now that I'm thinking about it, the themes and ideas are very similar in these two films.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I think Jeremy Ty just said we sold him on After Midnight, so he'll check it out. So I think that if we've done our job, I think that's time for us to move on. What's next?
And Andrew Payne, one of my new Perth buddies,
also nice.
Sold. G'day, Andrew. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm really excited to talk about this next flick.
Okay, next flick. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Production values. Let's never forget that. Production values. Oh,
we're trying.
There we go.
Oh man.
Okay, so you need to lead in on this one.
Okay. I just want to get it out right now that I'm a huge fan of Justin Long. I think Justin Long he's one of the most underrated great dickhead actors. Like he really is like that smarmy John Cusack-esque. Like he's like a mixture between like John Cusack and Ryan Reynolds, where he has like this ability to have like a smugness to him that almost isn't deserved, but like that cocky, that Joe Everyman of like a John Cusack. And I think Justin Long always delivers, and I always get excited to see him in something because like he just has this great ability to just deliver every time, even if it's a small role. Like even when he has like these cameo roles, or like in something like Zack and Miri Make a Porno, or
Galaxy Quest.
Galaxy Quest. He's amazing in Galaxy Quest, and what's that other one I really love him in? Waiting. He's also in Waiting. But
yeah, Waiting was better than it should be. He was good in Drag Me to Hell too. Yeah, and obviously Tusk.
Yeah, obviously Tusk is fucking great. Yeah, Justin Long kind of rules, and this is one I've had my eye on for a while, and it's almost got like a late '90s, early 2000s feel to it, where it's just sort of like this. It's almost like a road trip movie, but it's about drugs and like it's all about like existentialism and the universe, and it's just it's just so many different things, and I think it does all of them well. And I was so happy to take the ride that this movie takes you on. And I love the ending. It has like one of those little surprise endings, and it delivered on that really well. Just all around, just like a really solid, fun kind of flick that like almost like a Lucky Number 11 kind of like. It's so hard to describe it any other way than that. Whereas like if you like Lucky Number 11, it's sort of like that, where it has that sort of. It's just got like a good dialogue with a great great main character who's charming and just can deliver witty dialogue, and you just go along with this great ride. I fucking love The Wave. What about you?
Okay, I'm on board with Justin Long, just as you are, for sure. I do like him. I do like him enough that I don't necessarily seek out his films, but if I see his name in the credits, I'm immediately like, oh, well, there's going to be one thing I'm probably going to like about this film straight away.
Yep.
he's a welcome addition to the cast, and yeah, he does. I think you nailed it with your description of him and everything. So yeah, he was a strong suit. But the main thing that actually got me to watch this, because me, if I decide to watch things, I don't read what they're about. And for me, it's actually that poster right behind you. It was
a great poster. Yeah.
I really like that artwork. It looked like that artwork was like, well, that's something I want to, again, it's a real poster, which you don't see often.
Yeah.
It's not just some fucking Photoshop thing of, and it threw back. And I was like, it looked to me like it was going to be like a 70s style sci-fi from that poster. And there are things I like. What I got was a film that is so from the 90s.
Yes.
The best and worst of the 90s is kind of in it. And the film I'd compare it to immediately was Cube, what we were talking about earlier. This really high concept idea done with a really 90s kind of pastiche. And whereas Cube obviously was made in the 90s, Wave was throwing back to that. I need to go on record as saying, firstly, that I didn't really like the 90s as a decade for film. There's obviously great films in there. Some of my favorite films are in the 90s, but overall, the pastiche of the 90s wasn't my jam.
Well, that's the 90s in general, though. I think the 90s in general weren't my favorite, but there were some great genre introducing films of the 90s, though. So
I mean, as I said, some of my favorite films were made in the 90s, but just overall, the cliche kind of stereotypes of the 90s and stuff, they weren't my jam. I just wasn't into a lot of the stuff. I wasn't into the type of music. I wasn't into the type of clothes. I wasn't into the look and feel and taste of the 90s. So my first thought when the film ended was, if I saw that film 20 years ago, I would have liked it a lot.
Yeah.
But viewed through modern eyes as a throwback, I was kind of meh about the whole thing.
Oh, really? What?
Yeah. The concept is really good, and it's done fine. But I really just didn't care. The thing that I liked the most was the trippiness. But even that was done in such a way where it was just, again, it's like, it was one of those, I've seen this all done so much better in the real films that it's sort of taken from. Like, I would have preferred if this film was made by David Cronenberg. I would have preferred if David Cronenberg made this film.
It wouldn't have been as fun, though. Like that, it wouldn't have had Justin Long in it. Like, I think that's what makes this what it is. Like, I get what you're saying, but I like that this isn't taking itself seriously. And similar to how you're gonna like bust my balls about VFW, I would say you need to watch this again, because this is something I like. If I was to come see you in Australia, like, we would have to sit down and watch VFW and The Wave together. So like we both have a different perspective on that. Because
I'm not going to disagree, because Wave is selling stuff that I like to buy. I do like high concept fucking ball tripping films. And as I really like the atmosphere of some of the scenes in this, but I don't know, it just seemed to wear its influences on its sleeve so heavily, and the truth was that I didn't really like those influences the first time around, as opposed to VFW, where what it was selling was something that I just I love everything. Chuck me on fucking lighting in a film, and I'm already like halfway sold, and then chuck a synth score. And I'm like,
oh yeah, man, the score of VFW was amazing, by the way. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah, the score of VFW was
awesome.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just to segue, just briefly, that Rise of Synth premiered last night and today. The new documentary. There's a new documentary on synth music, narrated by John Carpenter, no less.
Yeah, and there's another one that I really want to see. I'm gonna probably pick up Shudder this week just to watch it. But Carpenter Brute, the synthwave artist, put out a new album called Blood Machines, which is based on a fucking short film. Do you remember a couple years ago the Turbo Killer video that was put out by that guy? Yeah. That guy made a short film that's like 50 minutes long, and it's on Shudder. And Carpenter Brute did the whole album for it. The album, I think I sent you a link to the album the other day. The album's fucking amazing, and the movie it's like Turbo Killer, but just it keeps going. So I need to watch that. So I'm so fired up to watch that. But yeah.
Okay, after the show, send me a link in Facebook to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to have a look at that too.
Oh shit, Jeremy! I guess Jeremy saw Blood Machines.
I almost wanted to try and see for this episode, but we should both throw Rise of Synth some of our money and check that out. So I think it. Oh god damn it! I think it's on Hulu. No, it's not Hulu. It's either way. It's we put up an article on Film Frak where it's on the Film Frak page where it's screening.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that next episode. But Jeremy, I guess Jeremy's saying.
Let's both make sure that we do that. But yeah, okay, back to the topic hand. The Wave. The Wait isn't a bad. I'm not going to say it's a bad film. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars because I think it achieved what it did and it was worth one watch. But I also agree with you completely that maybe I was in the wrong frame of mind, or maybe I was just being overcritical.
It was a 3.5 for me. Like I loved it. Like I was so happy with that movie. That movie just from start to finish. And I love, like, again, that thing that Justin Long does, it like so few like comedic actors can do, where he's got like that mopey John Cusack-esque like vulnerability, but that Ryan Reynolds fucking charm and snark when he wants it. And like I think so few actors can pull that off. And I loved his character in this. And like I totally understand what you're saying, but it's also those sorts of movies that try to attempt these things and have such a hard time doing it, which is why when one of them actually does pull it off, like I'm on board, because it's so hard to come up.
I've just worked it out. I think my main problem was that the concept and the mystery presented was not explored in the way that I thought it should have been. Like I thought it was something that could have been very, very interesting. The idea of this drug that does what it does, and I just think it went very surface level only and relied on its style, its filmic style,
Oh, it's
more
beautiful.
than actually
too,
intellectually exploring it. Like, you know me, I'm a fucking pretentious bullshit artist. You know, I would have liked this film to have been more pretentious. I would have liked this to kind of try to bore deeper down on the questions that it raised. And so when it presented the mystery, I was very intrigued. And when I won't say the mystery, I'll say the idea, because it spells out what it is pretty clearly.
Yeah.
And then I had a vision of what I'd do with that idea and how deep I'd go into it. And I just didn't think this went deep enough into that idea and exploring what it had done.
Yeah, that's a totally different movie. Like that scene, the scene with the fucking drug dealer alone, is the dialogue that happens when he's in the room with the drug dealer and his bodyguard. That drug dealer is amazing. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I really.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not pissing on the film. Like, it's not like I hated the film at all.
I also think it's amazingly.
At the end, you know, I do recommend that the viewers check this film out if it sounds like something they'd like. I do also ask that if they do, that they then let us know what they thought of it.
Yeah, I'd be curious, because this one did it for me.
I thought I'd be in your camp. So yeah, it's very interesting. Actually, we've got a mirror image here where VFW has confused you, and this one's confused. VFW confused me. Your response, and this one's the same, because I should like it more than I'm making out, and maybe I did. Maybe I need to watch it again. You're making me feel very insecure about it all.
Well, I mean, same with VFW, but I think we're gonna have the same conversation on our next film, which we'll get into. Hi-oh.
Okay, here we go. Next film, changing virtual background, engaged.
Big Time Adolescence.
There we go.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna let you start with this one, because it's gonna be.
No, you again. It's you again, because this is your jam. I know your opinion on this film, so start.
All right, man. I fucking love this film. I feel like there's been a weird resurgence of coming of age movies lately, and good ones even. And that's a genre that, like, I like it when it's done right, but most of the time it's trash. And there are so few good coming of age flicks, and I would put this among the best, honestly. I really, really enjoyed this a lot. I had no fucking idea who Pete Davidson even was until this came out.
Yeah, me neither, and I feel like I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, I did too.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I'm totally on board for whatever this dude does next, honestly. And I really like his co-star in this too, like the main character. Like, Pete Davidson's not even the main character in this. It's about, like, you know, this kid's journey and like how Pete Davidson's character affects him, and he just sort of steals the show, honestly. But even that kid, like, playing the sort of, you know, the generic, you know, trying to figure out my life kid, like I really like the story pitch, and it was cool because it takes place in today's society, and I feel like that's where I have a hard time with coming of age movies, because I really do like stereotypes and tropes, and a lot of them avoid that. Like, I wasn't a big fan of that one. What was that one that came out last year with the two girls in it?
Booksmart.
Booksmart. I wanted to like Booksmart, but Booksmart had everything about the modern age that I hate as a coming of age movie, so it didn't do anything for me. I was like, everything was just like super PC and everybody was just getting like, oh, there was no harshness to it, or it wasn't rough around the edges at all. It was just like this pristine coming of age movie where everybody's just life is fine and they're just trying to figure things out. It's like, all right, but this is like, Pete Davidson
missed the point on that fucking film. But anyway,
I'm sorry, man. I fucking didn't. Yeah. I didn't like that
and
one.
I really, really liked Booksmart, but I'm not gonna.
As did everyone else. I know I'm wrong. But
no, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole. No.
Yes. Okay then.
No. I mean, what you're saying about Booksmart is spot on, and I can understand why. The thing you don't take into account is that kind of is the high school world now. Kids now are raised to be compassionate.
But that's
kids
why I don't like.
Kids aren't being raised to be fucking assholes like you and I were.
Yeah.
And
that's fine. And that's fine.
It's not the cool kid that's the bully. The cool kid isn't the bully,
No, I know.
He's the
but I hate that.
And people go,
I hate how boring that is. It doesn't. When every character is fucking as vanilla as can be, it doesn't allow for any sort of interesting dynamic at all. And that's.
But they weren't fucking vanilla at all. Okay, and we're not reviewing Booksmart. We're not reviewing Booksmart. I'll just say.
We did that. We did that last year.
They were fucking incredibly well acted. But anyway, let's get to Big Time Adolescence.
Yeah, I just really like the fact that this can take place in the modern age and have like an element of grittiness to it. And I like how rough around the edges he is as a character. And I like how he's just like everything he does, like he's an asshole and he's kind of a piece of shit. But the way he lives his life, there's such an honesty to it. And there's such a, there's such like an almost genuine sweetness to it that it's hard to fault him for his many, many, many shitty actions. But like, I don't know if I can describe it better than that, honestly. I really do love the sincerity to the imperfections of his character, and I love that it affects everyone around him, and everyone sort of feels the same way. Like everyone will fucking hate him 1 minute to the point where they're getting physical with him, but he has the ability to like be sweet and kind and genuine and nice, and it makes them flip-flop their opinion on. Like I really like that, and for me, that's the sort of the rarity. I feel like that's not something that you get a lot in these sort of movies anymore. But I've rambled enough. Continue. Your turn, sir.
I liked Big Time Adolescence. I did not love Big Time Adolescence. It's interesting, actually. The context of the conversation we just had about Booksmart is kind of the thing that this thing hinted at and didn't actually do, which was that different generations thing. Like that Pete Davidson character is very much of that old school coming of age genre that we're talking about, the arsehole jerk. And this kid, his coming of age journey is just learning compassion and learning that seeing through to what this guy actually is. Because when you're young, you kind of idolize the wrong people, right? And you don't even realize, you idolize these people that you don't even realize are bad people. The amount of heroes, quote unquote, you kind of have when you're 12 years old, that then you're an adult and you go, like we were just talking about before with like, Jack Burton in fucking Big Trouble in Little China. As a kid, he was something to aspire to. And I didn't even realize that he was the actual sidekick in the film. And then when I watched it when I was, in my 20s, I was like, oh shit, Jack Burton's actually the fucking loser arsehole. And, the sidekick is actually the real hero of this film, and and that thing. And that's sort of, in context, what Big Time Adolescence is about. It's these two schools of thought where you've got this older character who's kind of our generation of kid, even though he's not old enough to be, you know what I mean? Yep. And this kid is learning the new way of thinking, and that millennial kind of, like I said, learning the compassion and the understanding and the fact that living your life the way he does just hurts everyone else around you. Yeah. And all those sort of things. And I think one of the problems I had with this was just literally the time that I watched it, because you made me watch Hot Summer Nights earlier.
Yeah,
and
two totally different movies.
Exactly tackling exactly the same themes, exactly the same ideas, and does it so much fucking better.
But that one also takes place in the actual fucking 80s though. So that was one of the movies I was referring to when I said there's been like a string of fucking good coming of age. Hot Summer Nights is fucking fantastic. Yeah. But
that's why I think I was clinging to the idea that this film's most interesting aspect would have been deconstructing that generational thing that we're talking about, and it doesn't do that well. Whereas, and I think it was because Hot Summer Nights had done it so well, but as you said, that was set in the 80s. Yeah. So it wasn't quite the same arc.
It didn't have to. Like that's the thing when you can't really compare the two, because Hot Summer Nights didn't have to account for it because it was in its time, and it represented it pretty accurately. And I really love the journey. That movie's fucking beautiful. You can watch it on Amazon Prime right now for free. So if you haven't seen Hot Summer Nights, watch it. They have A24 has like a whole free list of movies that are showing right now. Yeah, that fucking kid is fantastic.
Yeah, he is.
But Big Time Adolescence, what I liked about it though is the very thing you're talking about, where it's like you're taking someone who's got, by all accounts, an upbringing that's reminiscent of our age and reflects that, and this kid who's sort of stuck in between because it does take place now, and he's trying to find his way in the modern times with this person who doesn't fit in it. And I really like how that plays out because, like you said, the compassionate aspect of it is really what plays through in the end, and the journey that takes, and seeing how some of the viewpoints of the way that we are brought up are obviously fucking wrong and flawed. And I really like that this actually handles that in a mature and intelligent way while still reveling in all of those aspects of why there's sort of a crude humor to it. Like, I really like how he's faulted as a character for this, but there's also like that charm to it because it's just like a sense of humor that doesn't really exist anymore. And I feel like it really rode the line between those two things very well.
Yeah, see, where you say rode the line, whereas I just think it played it safe. Like, I just thought there was opportunities in this film for it to go a little deeper. It's kind of going to be like the way, I just think it could have gone deeper into that exploration rather than falling back on the trope, so to speak. Like, there was times when it could have really broken the mold and it didn't. And I'm really hesitant to do that whole thing where you review a film based on what you would have done or how you would have made it or the film that you wanted to see versus what the film actually is. So I'm trying to articulate this in a way where that's not actually what I'm saying, even though it sounds like it's what I am. I just think there was an opportunity for more in this film and it didn't explore it. Objectively, I think it achieved its goals. I just don't think its goals were high enough, is what it comes down to. I do agree that, another way to put it is, I think that if you didn't have Pete Davidson in this film and had a lesser actor, the film would have totally fallen apart for me. It wasn't really.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
It wouldn't have been as entertaining, and that to me implies that the infrastructure behind him wasn't strong enough, that the script wasn't strong enough to actually hold up under scrutiny if it wasn't for this performance.
I disagree with you because I think that
I'm on board with the performance.
I disagree with you in the sense that I feel like a fucking coming of age movie is never groundbreaking or really. They're all sort of tackling the same issues that everyone fucking growing up has to deal with. And I feel like this does something unique in the fact that it manages to meet in the middle two totally different mindsets of fucking culture and time periods. Like, I feel like the fact that you can have two characters dealing in modern times with issues, with tropes and stereotypes that don't really exist anymore, and like and actually have the younger kid learn from that in a positive way, in a way that makes sense. And it doesn't. I really feel like that's what makes this unique, because I haven't seen anything like that before, honestly. Like, I feel like this is like trying to find that middle ground. Like I said, like, I don't think coming of age movies nowadays are any good. Superbad is another good one though, but that's more of a straight comedy. That's not really a coming of age movie. That's just a good party movie. So I made a bad point there.
I mean, it's definitely a coming of age film too. It's definitely a coming of age film. But yeah, I mean, its goals are very different.
Yeah.
That's not to say Big Time Adolescence isn't funny. I think one of the strongest things it has going for it is when it's wanting you to laugh, it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Which is no small feat, especially at the moment. I tend to agree with you. I like coming of age films, just because it's that universal thing we all went through, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And some of us adult man children like myself are probably still coming of age. I don't know if I've fully grown yet, but it's a journey. I don't know. I'm not. Again, it's kind of like The Wave. I'm not gonna say don't watch this film because it is worth looking at. I'm just gonna say that it didn't quite live up to what I thought it could have been.
All right, man. Well, that's fair, and that hurts my feelings a little bit. But
I think
we
always
both
have hot summer nights.
We will. Hot Summer Nights is fucking fantastic, honestly, and we both will 100% agree with that one for sure.
Yeah.
And
did
I'm
we
pretty
actually review that on the show?
no, because we didn't. I didn't see it until like a month ago.
It was done during the dark days.
And then I was like fucking jizzing all over that movie, telling you to watch it because you hadn't seen it yet either. Like neither of us saw it when it came out somehow, and we're A24 psychopaths.
Well, no, somehow like it came and went. It bombed. It's one of the least successful A24 films of all time, and it's one of the worst reviewed. Like it's not a film that's liked. I think you and I are like the two-person cheer squad, and everyone else, you know. We're fucking River Phoenix and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and everyone's lost but us. You know?
I'm excited to talk about this next one because I know 100% we both agree on this next film a lot. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised this film didn't get any press. Or I mean, obviously,
I hadn't even heard of it.
A film has been released during the period where films aren't films anymore and they go straight to VOD because that's the only way we can see them. But there hasn't been much residual buzz about this film. There hasn't been much chatter about this film or much talk about this film.
This is one of my favorite films of 2020 right now.
Yeah, it kind of is for me too. I mean, there are some really gaping flaws in it, but the things that it does right, it does really fucking right.
Yeah.
And again, you know, I was kind of blessed going into this with very low expectations. I mean, the main reason I was going into it was because Leah Thompson's daughter. I really liked her in Everybody Wants Some. And I was, you know, when I saw that film, I was like, I really want to see what happens when she has a starring vehicle. Because I think she has a real presence. And
she's so good.
And she just fucking nails it. I mean, she owns this film. She fucking owns this film.
She's so good. And
I mean, even if you don't like the overarching plot or story or where it goes or whatever, I think this is a star-making turn. Like where the people that don't know who she is, once they watch this film, are going to be like, well, I want to see what she does next. Because she does that magnificent thing where she plays a character that's unsympathetic and never fucking tries to apologize for it.
Well, it's almost, I don't know if you got the vibe from this, but it felt very Wolf of Wall Street to me. Like it has a very similar, It really even like emulates some like shot styles and stuff. But everything about it, like I think it's stronger for that though, because I think this is such a well-made movie. Like I love how it's filmed. The cinematography is amazing. She is so fucking great in this. I love the journey that this movie goes on. It's funny as hell. Like it gets serious when it needs to.
Yeah. I mean, the way, I mean, the tone shit, like what we were talking about with VFW and those tonal shit, like this thing's tonal shifts are so seamless that it's not until you're halfway through the scene, you're like, oh, hang on, I'm feeling something different. And suddenly this isn't a comedy anymore. Yeah. This is a really fucking dark commentary on the fucking flaws in the fucking economic infrastructure of this entire country. And like, I mean, I still haven't really put my finger on what it does so right to make it so enjoyable to watch.
Well, I think it's that thing that we're talking about where it's one of those movies that really takes a lot of the best of a lot of different movies and then has its own story to tell, but has such a good homage vibe to it that it manages to utilize styles that already exist and tell a unique story that's only like even made even better by a fucking bunch of great performances.
Well, here's the thing. Is this film at its heart is a coming of age story, and yet it disguises it so well. But it's a getting of wisdom coming of age story. Like it literally is that. It's a coming of age fucking film. Yet you don't actually realize it's that until it finishes. Yeah. And you know she's a child who grows into the adult she will be. And unfortunately, that adult is not going to be a very appealing human being. She learns all the wrong lessons because she's programmed wrong from the start. You know, and it's this anti-coming of age story, and the fact that the wisdom that she gains and the things that she learns are actually the wrong lessons. You know, and that to me is, you know, we were just talking about how there's not that many unique ones. This is one of those unique coming of age stories. Because at its heart, that's exactly what it fucking is.
I don't know that I would call it a coming of age story.
Growing into an adult woman. Sorry?
I don't know. I think that's more of like, I don't know. I think that was more of a interesting. I equate it more to like a fucking, I don't know. I think this is more of like a Wolf of Wall Street or What was that other one with like Jennifer Lawrence?
Oh no, on the surface, you're right. On the surface, it's definitely got that, because of the subject matter of it dealing with those financial questions and the nature of making money. Like, the driving force of it is the nature of how you make money come into your pocket.
No.
But the lead character is coming of age.
I mean, I would say she learns a lesson.
She's a child when she starts. She's an absolute child when she starts, and she is an adult when she finishes.
I don't know that you spend enough time. I wouldn't say you spend enough time with her at that age, though. Like it sort of like montages its way through it. So I don't know if I could say you spend enough time for it to classify as that. But like we'd just be splitting hairs at that point about what we classify as a fucking coming of age film.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But I mean, and I don't know. I mean, I kind of thought about that when I watched the film, but it's just the context of the conversation we've just been having. But I just realized that's exactly what it fucking is. And we go, just by the way, we're getting a lot of feedback on coming of age films with Breakfast Club. And, hey, Gav, Mr. Jones, good to fucking see you. Gav's my buddy who I grew up with, who's in Canada now. I'm a Canadian.
Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is,
we've got
okay.
Breakfast Club, Perks of Being a Wallflower, Hot Tub Time Machine 2.
Hot Tub Time Machine 2 is not as terrible as everyone made it out to be, but it's also nowhere near as good as the original. But it's also not bad.
I actually did not like Hot Tub Time Machine number 2. Because Hot Tub Time Machine number 1
is great.
Was so much better than I was expecting it to be.
Yeah, it really is.
And so maybe it suffered by comparison if I went back and watched it a second time, because I only ever watched it once.
You can't like let that get in your head, but because I did the same thing, because I heard so many bad things about it, and then I just tried to go into it. I went into it with the impression that it was going to be terrible, so I had already like I didn't have to worry about that, because all it did was impress after that, because it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's worth a watch.
Yeah. So back to BUFALLOED.
Sure.
The one other thing that I have to say out loud is that JB Sapienza will fucking love this film, because the title BUFALLOED has 3 to 4 different meanings. And if you know JB, he even did a song about buffalo and how many different meanings there are to that word. And this film has like at least 3 to 4 of those that title can fucking imply. And that was pretty cool.
Shit,
so that was just a side note anyway, specifically for JB, if he ever watches, which he won't anyway. What does he care about what we do? He's just our friend.
I don't even know what else to say about. I really don't know what to say about this movie, except we didn't even get into the fucking basics of it. Basically, she's a fucking scam artist who gets into the business of being a debt collector. And Jai Courtney is in it, and Jai Courtney is oddly good in this. Jai Courtney, who I genuinely don't like in things, is fucking awesome in this. He's awesome in this.
I just like him so much that I kind of didn't register it was him. Even though he's not, he hasn't disappeared into the role or anything. Like, it's clearly him. Yeah. I actually didn't connect it was him until I saw the credits. I was like, oh yeah, that was. I liked him.
Yeah, if he sticks to being like a douche, he plays a great douche. He's such a douchebag in this movie.
Yeah, almost in that 80s style douche. Yeah. Like the mega douche. I mean, I like this film the way it was well shot. It does hinge on her performance, like for me, in the same way Big Time Adolescence hinged on Davidson's performance. Like, she being front and center is there. And I like the fact that it did have that Wolf of Wall Street vibe, but I didn't really feel like it was trying to be a Scorsese film.
Nope, it did not. It
was still trying to be its own thing.
Yep.
It just happened to resonate.
It borrowed from like all the right parts, especially like the opening montage sequence. The opening montage sequence is so Wolf of Wall Street. But after that, it settles into its own thing, which is like, it's like it takes from these things that it needs to, and the fucking cinematography is amazing, and everything about that movie is. I fucking love Buffalo. Buffalo is great. What else are we gonna say? Just watch it. It's fucking great.
I mean, I'll say that one of its strengths is that it never disappears up its own ass where it could have a million times. Yeah. Like, it very much has a clear idea of what it is, to the point where it doesn't kind of build drama to end with this massive thing. It just kind of goes, and you kind of just keep up with it.
Yeah, and it's always fun, even when it is dramatic and serious, which it is, and you believe it for when it is that as well. And
it's slowly tackling a lot of themes and ideas without ever putting its finger on it. Like, there's a lot of things that I thought about after the fact when I was sort of pulling the film apart in my head, and I was like, oh, the reason that you put her in this room with this situation and this happened was this, not just what was on the surface. There was a couple of times where it just was. I think a part of it is the dialogue is so focused on only taking care of the finance part that coming of age element, that getting of wisdom, the gender thing is huge, yet it's never really, you know, beaten over the head with it, but it's definitely there. You know, there's a lot of things that are just there as part of building the character. You know, everything seems to serve a purpose. You know, everything seems to either serve building the character or creating another dimension to the character or furthering the story, which is a really simple story.
Yeah, but
it's
so,
a really
it works so
simple
well.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said,
no,
like
I liked it. It was just really well fucking made and done and
yeah, it's great.
You know, I don't know if part of why I responded to it so strongly is that I didn't really have expectations. That I was just curious. I watched it out of curiosity rather than out of, hey, I'm watching this with the hope of being blown away or anything. And I won't say I was blown away either. It was just, it wasn't until after the film, again, I realized just how much I enjoyed watching the film.
Yeah, it's just a really, really good movie. It's a really well-made movie that's entertaining and has an awesome story. And again, she is so fucking great in that movie. Her performance is awesome. She's so cute and bubbly and like conniving.
Well, she's already
at the
out of the
same time.
shadow of the mother.
Yeah.
She's already out of that daunting shadow of being Leah Thompson's daughter.
Yeah.
She's out of that shadow already. And then, I mean, there's times when you definitely can tell that she's her mother's daughter, like just in the mannerisms occasionally. Like there's just certain things about her body language and stuff. But she's made such a strong presence in this film that immediately I'll be in for whatever she does next.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Watch Buffaloed, and your boy Gavin here says he's going to watch Buffaloed. So I think we can go on to the next thing now that our job is complete. Yep. And I'm genuinely upset about this next one because I didn't see this next one, and I should have, but I watched the wrong movie tonight. So I should have watched this. God damn it! I hate that I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah, I mean, so this film is much more your jam than my jam. However, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's one of those films that's not really aiming high. It hasn't got big goals to achieve. It leans heavily on the simple premise of Daniel Radcliffe surgically getting guns attached to him and then put him to a reality show where he's got to survive with everyone trying to kill him. Really that simple.
Does it do all those things?
It does all those things.
That's all I need that movie to do.
And whether that's a strength or a weakness is up to you. I enjoyed it. I'm very, very uneven on Daniel Radcliffe, as you know, as an actor.
I agree, yeah.
In fact, 9 times out of 10, aside from maybe one exception, I'm always like, why didn't they cast Elijah Wood instead? Which I think I say just about every fucking show, every time we talk about Elijah Wood and Daniel Radcliffe. I'm sorry if I'm boring your audience, because I say that. But this is one of those ones where Radcliffe does fine, because what's demanded of him isn't that much, and what's demanded of him is totally what he can do. You know, I mean, he's in his pajamas for half the film, you know, running around with these fucking guns, and you know, the film's excessively violent and excessively fucking mean-spirited. And you and I both respond to mean-spirited.
Oh, absolutely. We love some mean-spirited fun.
It never takes itself seriously. It's never trying to make any grand statement about anything. It just, as I said, it just relies on that premise. And if you see it's one of those films, if you see the trailer and you like what it's selling, then you're going to like the film. I can't even say that it's a hard film for me to actually sell you on or not, because it's just very simple. There's some really neat little bits of cinematography and some neat little unbroken shots and all those sort of things. Not like Extraction level or anything crazy like that. It's comedy work. Again, it's that mean-spiritedness. Like I don't know. I feel I was laughing at all the right spots.
Yeah.
That maybe I was meant to be showing some compassion, but I just had none.
I expect that movie to be
that sort of film.
I expect that to be like a 3 out of 5. That's the kind of movie I expect that to be. I expect that to be like a solid 3 out of 5. Like that's
exactly what I gave it. The soundtrack is quite good, actually. The soundtrack,
Nice.
Some of the song choices were some of the needle drops are fucking cool. I'm not going to rave about it. As I said, it's a 3-star film. It's a very solid 3-star film. I'll
probably watch that when we're done with the show.
It's not often I can't ramble on about a film, but there's really nothing to ramble on about, because I think
it makes sense, because like it doesn't seem like, I mean, it's fucking Daniel Radcliffe with guns. Like it pretty much, I can imagine it being exactly what it is and doing a decent enough all I need that movie to do is deliver on what it claims to be, and if it does that, then cool. Like I'm on board. And your buddy here says talk about how Horns was a good Daniel Radcliffe movie, and I agree with him 100% because Horns is good. But I'm also going to agree with Adam in that if Elijah Wood was in that role, it would have been a better movie. Like, and Horns is good. Horns is good. I like Horns. Horns is good.
See, Horns wasn't for me. Horns would have been good with Elijah, with Daniel Radcliffe. That's the film that actually made me realize this theory. Because I was like, why am I not responding to this? Everything this film's doing, I like the writing, I like the script. What is it about it? And it's not that I inherently don't like Daniel Radcliffe either. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a fucking Harry Potter fanboy as much as the rest of you. And Swiss Army Man, no one could replace him in Swiss Army Man. Like, Swiss Army Man is that exception that I'm saying. Like, Swiss Army Man is, like, fucking great. And I admire the shit out of the career choices he's making. You know, it's nice to be able to make so much fucking bank off one franchise that you can just go and make fucking little fucking passion projects the rest of your life. Why the hell doesn't every actor do that?
Yeah, Robert Pattinson is a great example of someone who did the same thing.
Although Robert Pattinson's a fucking god, so.
Yes, I mean, comparatively speaking, I mean, just as far as like they're making the same decisions, but Robert Pattinson's fucking amazing. So, I don't want to make it clear that I'm not actually. I don't know why I've got an itchy nose, by the way, people. I'm sorry I keep scratching my fucking face and breaking every COVID rule in the world, but maybe it's just the more excited I'm getting, the more my fucking nose hairs are tingling. Do you want to get into our next film and another one that
let's move it along. Oh, you're a handsome motherfucker! Look at that.
Oh, god damn it! Fucking shut my camera off. I am also upset that I haven't seen this either because this looks fantastic.
This is
this as good as it looks? We both love Fat Russell Crowe. So
yeah, Fat Russell Crowe is the only Russell Crowe. I mean. The Insider was pretty much the only Russell Crowe film I really fucking enjoyed until he actually legitimately got fat. So I don't know what that tells you. But no. Fat Russell Crowe is easily the best fucking Russell Crowe. And he's never going to do better than Nice Guys, though. Nice Guys is...
Nice Guys is the fucking role of a lifetime, that movie.
Yeah. I mean, I like Romper Stomper and I like, there's some of those early films that I do, LA Confidential and things. But yeah, So anyway, so Russell Crowe isn't in this film that often, so I don't want to advertise it that way. You asked, would you like it? It's a film that I have no idea. This is a film that I have no idea who's going to like it and who's not.
What did you give it, by the way? Just so I have an idea.
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed it for a number of reasons. And the first one is, you know me, if you're delivering something that's fucking unexpected and totally its own fucking thing, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to respond with, well, you're doing something unexpected and you're keeping me intrigued. Yeah. And this is one such element. It's a film with fucking style to burn, and not a style as imitating anyone else. I'm hesitant to call it an experimental film, but I am going to call it a film that what you get on screen could only be from whatever fucking director's head it comes from. And the director of this film did Snowtown, which I really fucking loved. Snowtown is a very different sort of. Snowtown is a very repulsive, but brilliantly made fucking thriller, drama, horror film about the Snowtown murders. And it's really fucking bleak, and it's really miserable, and it's depressing, and kind of like watching Requiem for a Dream. You kind of it takes you a few days to come out of the slump of what the film made you feel, which I love, mind you. I love those sort of films. This isn't that sort of film either, but it could be because it does have nastiness in it. It's kind of how am I going? Okay, let me start fucking again. Okay, true history of the Kelly Gang. The first thing we're going to point out is this is not a true history. This is very much an imaginative fucking rebuilding of the mythology of the Kelly Gang that hinges on only a couple of elements of what really happened. And the rest is kind of this fan fiction of Kelly, because Ned Kelly in Australia, just for those who aren't Australian, is like probably our ultimate icon just about. Like, every country fucking loves its criminals, and Kelly is our one. The Bushranger Ned Kelly is something you hear about when you're 3, and He's constantly there. I mean, there have been 19 goddamn films made about Ned Kelly. 19 of them.
Is he the one that was that movie you made me watch? A movie about Ned Kelly, the one about that guy that had like the mustache and he was like a giant, like a really big dude who was kind of a prick and he like beats his girl and stuff like that. Do you remember what movie I'm talking about? It was an Australian flick.
No, narrowing it down. There's so many mustached girl beating films that I love that I've made you watch. I don't know.
I wish I remember the name
I'm trying to
of
figure
it.
out which fucking film you're talking about.
I'm sorry to interrupt your train of thought, but it was an Australian flick. But I could have sworn it was like because I could have sworn I remember you telling me it was like based on like a dude who was just like a really tough.
Oh
really...
no, it was Chopper.
Chopper. Okay, gotcha.
That was Andrew Dominik's Chopper, the director who went on to do like Assassination of Jesse James and Killing Them Softly. And
okay, I'm sorry to derail your fucking.
Pretty much our best director alive, just about, or in the conversation. Although the guy who directed this is immediately also in that conversation of a best Australian director. But yeah, just to give some context, anyway, Ned Kelly is so iconic and so huge in this country, and there's been 19 films made about the man. So this film deliberately going against the grain and just being its own fucking thing is actually very, very, very welcome. Not that any film has really captured. I mean, one of the films was a Mick Jagger film. You know, just to put it in, you know, Mick Jagger played Ned Kelly. That's how big Ned Kelly fucking is. The first feature-length film ever made in the history of the world, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong because I didn't bother to look this up, but I think in 1906 or 1907, there was a feature-length film made about Ned Kelly, and I think it's the first feature-length film that was ever made in the history of cinema, I think. If not, it was one of the earliest ones. It's certainly the first Australian feature film, and that was in 1906. So again, there's been films made about Ned Kelly since 1906. I think that's enough context to let you know that the reason this film goes off script so heavily is because, yeah, we even, and I mean, there was even a Ned Kelly film with Heath Ledger, which is probably the most historically accurate, probably. But true history is incredibly idiosyncratic and doing its own thing, and it doesn't shy away from, just like Nightingale, from going, it was fucking horrible to grow up in colonial fucking Australia. And Ned Kelly, like all of the best villains, isn't actually a villain. In real life, you're brought up to believe he's a bushranger and this criminal. And then when you're an adult and you actually read about him and look at the history, you're like, no, actually, he was kind of forced into a fucking corner and very much justifiable fucking homicides were committed. You know, he was very justified in his actions considering the circumstances he was put in, and also just the circumstances of where he was fucking born and stuff. And this film kind of toys with all those ideas. But at its heart, it's just this rollicking, crazy, cross-dressing fucking mayhem of a film that is many, many things, and I'm still pulling it apart. And this one, I'm trying to not put it into any boxes, because I imagine it's a film where 5 people could sit in a room and watch it, and you're all going to kind of walk away with a different film. And probably 4 people in the film are going to fucking hate it, and there's going to be one guy like me that just fucking loved it.
You're kind of like what you're describing.
Polar opposite their opinions are on this film too. It's very, very divisive film.
What you're describing sounds very much like filth to me.
Sorry?
So what you're describing has like a filth vibe to it, like the James McAvoy filth that you and I love so much. It's like you're giving me like vibes from that.
You know what? I would never have even fucking thought of that comparison. Yeah, kind of.
Just the way you're describing it.
I mean, we both love filth. Like
filth is great.
Fucking. Yeah. I like filth more than Trainspotting. I'll go on record as saying that.
Absolutely, 100%. I
love fucking filth to death.
Filth is great.
It's funny, and I mean, again, it's that uncomfortable humor. It's that, and this film just slowly burns. And the guy who plays Ned Kelly was the oldest son in Captain Fantastic, and you know my love of fucking Captain Fantastic.
Oh yeah.
He was also in
1917. He's the main guy in 1917.
Oh, I still haven't seen 1917.
I haven't seen 1917.
It's on VOD. I do have a very good excuse for not seeing 1917. I feel I need to see it in the cinema.
Yeah,
and I didn't get to see it in the cinema because of the annoying plague.
Yeah,
I
bought that on fucking.
I'm hoping that because of its nature, it'll go back to the cinema when the plague ends.
Yeah,
and it'll be one of those films.
No, it's done. But yeah, no, that'll never show up in the cinema again. But like that, I saw that in fucking IMAX.
Why do you say that? Because no one sort of
knows. Some
people are saying classic films are going to turn up in the cinema.
Yeah, but like they don't really do that anymore because it's fucking each. You know, you got to fill the fucking each week. That's just not really the format anymore like it was like 10, 15 years ago. Even like that doesn't really happen as much anymore. But yeah, I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but like that's a fucking. You need to watch that fucking movie. 1917 is absolutely. It's. Oh yeah, that's still technically a 2020. So yeah, that's still my favorite fucking movie this year by a fucking long shot. That movie.
I mean, everything that film is selling, I'm fucking on board for.
Oh, yeah.
Everything, like, you know, I'm a sucker for the fucking, you know, the choreography of the illusion of an unbroken shot, and I'm all for, you know, I mean, trench warfare is just so fucking horrible and depressing.
Oh, yeah, that movie's rough.
I love my horrible and depressing, and it's a war film, and you know,
I've derailed you like three times on this movie. I'm sorry.
Sorry?
I said I've derailed you like three times.
How dare you? I interrupt you at least 20 times on every fucking film. Like, it's nice to know you're chiming in there, keeping the repartee going. So anyway, so the lead actor is an actor that I really like, and he really owns it. Nicholas Holt's in this, playing a fucking ghoul.
I fucking love Nicholas Holt so much.
That guy can do just about anything. I mean, when you look at what he's doing in The Favourite, and then in this, and then Mad Max, and yeah, Holt's just quietly echoing out this little fucking niche that's. You know what? Nicholas Holt is kind of like the mirror image of Robert Pattinson. Like, the two of them are kind of just doing that thing.
Yeah.
Where I don't know if Nicholas Holt's actually had that big franchise film yet that made him Sirius Banks, so he can actually be that guy. Maybe he's just fucking that guy.
Maybe X-Men? Maybe X-Men. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was fucking Beast, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You know, I would not have thought, I could have rattled off everything I've seen of him, and I would have totally forgotten about fucking that. Because he was good. It's not that I'm commentary on.
No, they're not good movies, but he was good, yeah.
Wasn't he in my favorite X-Men film, that First Class?
I believe he was, yeah. Yeah, he was in that one.
Yeah. And then this one has Ezzie Davis as well. I'm just going through the cast because just to let you know that it's a really high fucking quality production. It has really good fucking actors and really good performances. But most of the name brand actors are only in one or two scenes, just to be aware. Like, it's a lot of little cameos that are obviously done to get the funding to be able to make the film. And then, so this film builds and builds and builds. And when this film goes to absolute fucking mayhem, one of the reasons I love this goddamn film is you get one of the most fucking frantic, visceral, fucking hectic fucking shootouts of anything I've ever seen. And it's all through the fucking little goggles of the fucking, the metal fucking mask, the fucking headgear, the shield. And it's jumping around and it's throwing you around, and you're fucking as I like to say, you're fucking in the mouth of Jaws, just getting thrashed around. It just fucking throws you around, and so it's the closest thing to, you know what it is? It's a punk rock fucking period film. It's a punk rock period film. I finally found what I wanted to say. Punk rock period film is what True History of the Kelly Gang is, and I'm not exactly. It is. It's just fucking. It's so fucking punk rock, and yet it's also set 200 years ago. But it reminds me a lot of like it's got that vibe of like Alex Cox's Repo Man as a film that springs to mind, for instance. Like, it's really running on its own fucking fuel and petrol and doing its own thing, and I don't want to make out like the whole thing's paced at a breakneck speed or anything. Like, it kind of just, you spend most of the film just trying to keep up with whatever the fuck it's trying to sell you. And I kind of love that. And then you're giggling at just the ludicrousness of how much artistic freedom this guy has to create his vision.
I'm going to watch this weekend, because you're giving me like some serious like Filth and Guy Ritchie vibes, making me want to watch this. So like, I feel like from what you're saying, it sounds like it's a combination of like a Guy Ritchie film. It's like if Guy Ritchie directed Filth or something. I feel like I need to watch this.
I don't think, I mean, the script isn't engineered that way. The closest I'm coming to is some of Alex Cox's work had that kind of vibe to it. It's its own thing. I mean, I'm not going to tell you, right? I'm expecting the listeners to, as many of them, to hate it as like it. You may respond to it or you may not. It's really tough to say. All I know is that I really enjoyed it for it offering me something that's really not seen very often, and very, very seldom in Australian cinema have I seen something quite so fucking out of hand.
Right on.
And it's not that I'm saying it's super violent or anything either. It's just, it's that artistic element of it, the True History of the Kelly Gang. It's just its own fucking thing, and it doesn't give a fuck if you like it or not. It really doesn't give a fuck. It's kind of like Ned Kelly, the character in the film. Like, you just don't get. He just doesn't give a fuck, and neither does the film.
Oh my god! Again, I can't get the hang of this.
So True History of the Kelly Gang. I'm not even sure if I've communicated to any of you in a way that's coherent. but again, maybe I'm just going for the vibe of the film. Like, it made sense to me, but I've also heard some people go, "I don't even know what the fuck I just watched." So
Fair enough, man. You want to dive into our last film of the evening? Which
hello, Andrew has tuned in. G'day,
another one you saw that I did not.
Oh, the one that see, you'd have so many more interesting things to say about this than me. This one is so your jam. I mean, I like the film, I like it and stuff, and I enjoy it, and I can talk about it. But the fucking deep dive on the D&D element of this film, you would fucking. I just have to sit back and nod knowingly.
Yeah, I need to. I regret. Like, so here's what happened. Before we did the show tonight, I decided to watch a movie, and I decided to watch. What the fuck did I even watch? We just talked about so many movies that my brain is completely frozen. Right. Oh, I watched Trip to Greece because I thought we were going to be talking about Trip to Greece on the show, even though I made
Trip to Greece next week though.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Trip to Greece next time. And so instead of watching Onward, I decided to watch that, and I should have watched this so I could have talked about it because you and Scott, our buddy Scott, has fucking told me how much I would love this movie because, again, the fucking D&D references. But I can carry on. I will just sit here and fucking hang my head in shame due to the fact that I haven't seen this.
Well, you can derail me as I'm talking in any way you want. So, Onward. I saw the trailer. I was meh.
That's honestly why I didn't see it too. The trailer did nothing for me.
Well, I mean, so Pixar started as this fucking crown jewel where for a decade and a half it made nothing but fucking excellent fucking films.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure if my sensibilities changed or if it actually changed.
Oh, it
but
did.
Then it started getting uneven. There started being, sequels to films that didn't need sequels, and the Pixar brand didn't make it so what it used to be. Whereas like the day a Pixar film comes out, I'm there on opening day and I'm seeing a Pixar film.
And so you got fucking Cars 2 and Planes.
About Pixar films.
Yeah.
And I do still have that completist attitude. I do. If it's a Pixar film, I will eventually see it. But
did you see
Onward
Planes?
was one where I watched the trailer and I was like, well, I like fantasy and I like that genre, but this looks like a lesser Pixar film. And then it was at that stage where we were still trying to figure out what COVID actually was and how cinema was going to work. And the fact that it got decided to release it on VOD instead of wait for a big screen release screamed to me lack of faith in the product. Because it's fucking Pixar. I was like,
Well, we actually got it here on the big screen, so maybe it's just it was up for a couple.
Well, maybe they did here too. Maybe they did here too, and I'm just ill-informed. But either way, it just didn't. It wasn't a film that had any. Again, when a Pixar film comes out, there's a tidal wave of talk about it, and it just kind of was there as one of the options you have on VOD, and it just didn't seem to have the prestige of what Pixar usually is. So there's a lot of subconscious stuff that probably played into why I really wasn't paying that much attention. But there was a day where Fee and I had just a bad day early in the COVID thing where, just adjusting to the new reality whenever we were like, hey, we want to watch something that's not going to demand anything of us. And the last thing we want is something that's going to make us emotional or anything like that. So I was like, Onward. And I put it on with the intention I might even fall asleep while it was on and watch it later. It was one of those. And it was literally, oh, look, there's dragons and there's fucking elves. And we love dragons and elves. So that was the attraction. I only took 10 minutes into the film before we both sort of realized, oh, shit, this is a fucking real Pixar film. Oh, God, we're going to be a mess on the floor, aren't we? We're going to be crying and, the tears. And, yeah, it's, it's a beautiful fucking D&D film. At its heart, it's this vision quest fucking, journey for, a MacGuffin item that'll propel the adventure and, at the same time, characters getting wisdom and learning to get along and pondering relationships and, the nature of parenthood and, all the good juicy things that Pixar has are there. And it's done really fucking well. And it's beautiful to look at. It really, really, when I was watching this, I got so into this. I really did. I'm not going to go that it's Wall-E level fucking Pixar, but I'm certainly going to say that it's Monsters, Inc. fucking level Pixar, which is to say just a notch below like their A game. And as you know, even their B game is still better than fucking 99% of fucking, I don't want to even say animated films. I'll just say 99% of films. Pixar makes fucking great films and they make great films. And this is a really good fucking film. And it's one that I'm still surprised isn't talked about more as, just one of the highlights of this year so far. And I'm deliberately trying not to spoil any of the plot points for you, and also I'm going to backpedal in a moment and try not to hype it as much as well. But I do. I'm surprised that you haven't watched it, and I think that you're going to love it because your love of D&D is far in excess of mine, and your knowledge is far deeper. That I know that when you watch this film, you're going to be seeing like 20 extra things I wasn't, and I was completely satisfied with it. I just know that you're going to see way more than me.
We should do a list of our favorite Pixar movies. That would be a fun list to put together, actually.
Well, I mean, I know WALL-E is my favorite. Right? Like, there's a clear number one for me, and it's WALL-E.
Yeah,
and
mine's a toss-up between WALL-E or Ratatouille. It's tough to say which one I would like better, actually. Probably WALL-E.
Yeah, well, mine's WALL-E and The Incredibles. But Ratatouille is number 3. Ratatouille, every time I watch it, I mean, there's another film where I was totally a fucking moron. It came out, and it's like I'm like a food film about a fucking rat. I had no interest in seeing this goddamn film at all. And it wasn't until like maybe 5 or 6 years after it was released, I was like, oh, there's a Pixar film I haven't watched. How about I watch that? Fucking goddamn Ratatouille. I actually watched it about a month ago with Fee. Actually, we watched it after watching Onward because we were enjoying watching Pixar films.
Yeah.
And it was the one I went back to because I'd only seen it once that one time, and it blew me away. And I watched it again, and I'm like, yeah. I think Ratatouille is fucking exceptional.
It's great.
So fucking good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. I think you're right, though. It's like the Pixar stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that I haven't even seen lately because like Cars. I remember like they started putting shit out like Cars, and then fucking Cars 2 and Planes and fucking. There's been some shit that's snuck through. That's what I mean. And I still haven't seen Incredibles 2. I didn't see Monsters Inc. 2. I didn't see Incredibles 2. Like I just kind of got sick of their sequels, like their unnecessary sequels. Honestly,
Incredibles 2 I liked, but as I said, Incredibles is probably my number 2 off the top of my head.
The last one I really enjoyed.
What's amazing about Pixar? What's amazing about Pixar is the films we're not talking about right now. Like we haven't even mentioned the word Toy Story.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and yet, you know, in no way by omission.
I didn't see the fourth one.
Not a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah, the second one is my favorite one.
Yeah, me too.
Toy Story 2. I didn't see the fourth one. I haven't seen that yet. I've heard it's really good, but it was one of those things where I just saw it and I was like, I don't need it. Like they ended the third one. I only saw the third one a couple of times. I didn't like the third one that much. Yeah, I
only saw Toy Story 3 once and was underwhelmed, and I haven't seen Toy Story 4 yet either.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed I don't need more of that in my life.
Yeah, they just didn't feel it. Yeah.
And I mean, I say that, but I also feel deep in my heart that I know that when I eventually do watch it, and I will watch it because it's Pixar, that I'm going to go, oh, I was a fucking moron again. Why didn't I learn the lesson with Ratatouille and just, you know, but they've let me down a few times, and like I didn't put Up anywhere near on the same pedestal as many people do.
Fucking Jeremy.
And I don't put Finding Nemo up where many people do.
Yeah, Finding Nemo's like in the same fucking like a step above Cars, where I was just like, it's fine.
And the sequel is downright fucking terrible.
The sequel is fucking. Yeah, I forgot there was even a sequel to that. But yeah, Jeremy Tye just put out a good fucking top 5 for his, and I haven't seen Coco yet.
Jeremy, g'day, mate.
Coco, I've heard nothing but good things about Coco, but that was another one where I saw the trailer and I was like, I don't know that I need to see that. But Inside Out is Inside Out is also one of my favorites. Inside Out is
Inside Out is great.
That's a great movie. Yeah,
that's top tier.
That is, that's a very mature. That's like one of their more mature ones. I think that's why I like that one so much.
Inside Out is very fucking like. I think that at every stage in your life, that film's going to have a different relevance.
Absolutely.
Like I would have loved to have been able to start my life's journey with Inside Out as a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And then as a 16-year-old, and then as a 30-year-old, then as a 40-year-old, then as a 50-year-old.
I feel the same way about Up. I feel like Up doesn't get enough credit. I feel like Up is another one of those films where like the opening of Up is genuinely fucking gut-wrenching.
No, the opening is great. The opening is fucking flawless. It's just the rest of the film that I'm like indifferent to. I mean, it has some good. I mean, I'm not going to say it's like bad, like it's not Finding Nemo like that level, but it's still, I don't know, Up just underwhelming.
I think Brave is also very fucking. I think Brave is overlooked a lot. I think Brave is a really just good fantasy movie. It's just Brave is just good. It's just a good flick. I don't think I got enough credit.
Brave. I need to revisit Brave because I've only seen it once, and because of what it was selling, I was expecting it to be my favorite fucking Pixar film. And so I walked out a little underwhelmed by it. And so I can't even offer an objective opinion. I need to watch Brave again because, I've only watched it once. And I feel this is one where I'm wrong to even have missed it the first time, if you know what I mean. Like I don't know what amalgamation of events in real life and in my own head created Brave being not something that I was in love with. And it's one I need to look at again because I haven't seen it once and it was in cinemas.
I mean, you know me and my fucking personal history. Like, I don't have the fucking closest family, but like Brave. After watching Brave, I was like, Jesus, I should fucking call my mom. That movie really was I thought Brave was like pretty. It's one of the more like it's like that one just kind of like sneaks itself under the rug. Brave's definitely worth a watch again. I want to revisit that myself now, just talking about it.
Well, we have a Sunday morning cartoon tradition here. Like every Sunday morning, we watch a cartoon. I think I might watch Brave tomorrow morning.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Yeah, let me know.
I will. After. Yeah, well, let's have a Zumbi combo after I watch it, and we'll talk about it. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. I mean, Up's opening is devastating. Like you're right, Jeremy. It's just the rest just didn't live up to that. And I mean, there are films that do that too, where the opening scene is so good that it sets a bar that just doesn't get reached again. And I think that's what it comes down to with Up. Because I just don't think it ever reached that emotional, I'm bawling my eyes out, I'm a mess, I'm a puddle in the floor. And then the rest of the film, I'm kind of not affected half as much as I was by the opening.
Until the end. The ending of Up is also a fucking gut punch. At the beginning, I do agree with you on the middle. It sort of pulls a fucking Stripes or a Full Metal Jacket, where the first half of it just sort of...
How dare you! You're wrong on both those things.
Those are the fucking same movie.
The second half of Full Metal Jacket is the whole fucking point, and I'm going to say you're wrong.
Every time I shut that movie off.
The second half is everything. Without the second half, that first half means nothing.
That's all I need, though, is that first half. I just need that fucking I am in a world of shit, and then I just stop that movie. And Stripes is the same way. The training, both those movies, the training camp is the best part of the movie. Those two movies, I think.
I'm not gonna say the training part in Stripes isn't the best part of the movie, but Czechoslovakia, they zip in, they zip out. I love the second half, man. I never understood that criticism of Stripes second half.
Yeah, it definitely has its moments, but I feel like those for me anyway, those two films suffer the same thing. Whereas like once you get out of the training sequence, I like the drill sergeant aspect and like I love that whole series of events is so fucking great that after you get out of it, I was just like, it's whatever. Give or take.
I mean, it's a tonal shift, but it's still just as fun. I don't know. I mean, we're not reviewing Stripes, and it is what it is. If you like, I just on both those, I personally think wrong rather than objectively. I understand. I don't understand.
I might have to have to rewatch that. I do have both of those on fucking Blu-ray, so I might have to fucking throw those in.
But Full Metal Jacket, Jesus Christ! Without that second half, that first half becomes more fucking harrowing once you know the second half, and the second time you watch that, I don't know. I mean, again, we're not reviewing Full Metal Jacket, although that would be fun because I fucking love that film.
That's a good question. What we
are reviewing is Onward.
Oh,
and you have derailed me so well. This conversation is very.
I feel like did you have more you wanted to talk about with Onward?
I'm just trying to. I enjoy the sound of my own voice. I'll talk as long as you fucking want.
I mean, I kind of want to pitch the question to some of the people listening right now is if they like the idea of us maybe doing like a retrocast where we talk about some of our favorite movies, some of our favorite old flicks that we're both really like passionate about. We could put together like a fucking great list, I'm sure, of if you wanted to go by like genres and stuff. If that's something you guys are interested in, just like fire off in the comments if you think that would be fun to watch about like a retro show. Because I would love to do that. There'd
have to be parameters on it because you and I could go fucking so broad.
Oh yeah, that would be hard for us, but like that would be a fun show to put together. That would be fucking harder for us to put together than anything. So.
Yeah, like a genre show, like let's talk fucking westerns. Let's talk. I mean, but then there's those films too where it's like stuff like talking comedies. Where would we define comedy?
That's where oddly enough, that's the thing that you and I agree the least on too all the time is comedies. So like the ones that we do agree on, they're that much more like, I feel like that would be that much more fun because that's so.
Yeah, now the subjectivity of what makes you laugh is as subjective as what frightens you. Like it's so down to person. There's no right or wrong on laughing. And hey, you like slapstick, and I like fucking I like Neil Simon witty fucking things, and. Some people watch a Neil Simon thing and think it's not a comedy, it's a drama, and and I mean, like, but Neil Simon would be my go-to for my sense of humor, whereas your, but there are ones that we agree on too, and then there's ones that we disagree. Like you don't like Caddyshack, right?
I don't. I don't dislike Caddyshack. It's just over the years, it's gotten less funny for me. Like I still think, like anytime Chevy Chase is on the screen, it's fucking great. He's one of the best assholes. Like that's one of the best all-time asshole roles. But Caddyshack has oddly enough gotten less funny for me over the years. And I feel weird saying that, but I mean, that's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I bring up that one is because that's your humor.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ones where we kind of, I thought when we first discussed, like I thought, oh, we'll meet up Matt. Like we will both love Caddyshack because you like your dick and fart jokes, you know, and I like dick and fart jokes as well in certain films like Caddyshack, and Stripes, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of ones like that I don't like. Although we're the two weirdos that liked Movie 43.
Yeah, Movie 43 is fun, but that's because you and I have talked about this before. Is how close that movie really is a love letter to Kentucky Fried Movie. It really is.
Yeah, Kentucky Fried Movie is a god. You know, I mean, it's nice that we're talking about the films we agree on because yeah, Kentucky Fried Movie, fucking hell, man.
Yeah.
And every time I watch that film, I'm like, I know what happens. You know, this is not a charade. I need total concentration. It's not going to make me laugh. And then I watch it. You know, this man is a stuntman. He does it for the thrill. You know, I mean, those I know the fucking film, and I still end up in hysterics every time. You know, unlike say Ghostbusters, where I still love watching Ghostbusters, but I don't laugh as heartily anymore when I watch it.
No, it's just a good movie. Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, it's Yeah, I agree. But I honestly, I was obsessed with Ghostbusters because that came out when I was a kid. Like I had all the toys. I was obsessed with the cartoon. Like I actually wore out like a VHS tape of Ghostbusters. I've seen that so many times.
I embarrassed my mother because when I first saw Ghostbusters in the movie, I laughed so hard I fell off my seat into the aisle. And couldn't stand up. Like I couldn't. It was the dickless bit. Yes, this man has no dick. That fucking punchline made it so I ruined the film for about 5 minutes to everyone around me because I couldn't stop crying. I could not stop laughing. I had no idea when I walked out of the film. I had no idea what happened in the next 5 minutes of the film because I died that hard off that fucking scene. Not a figure of speech. I literally fell off the chair and then couldn't get back in the chair. Because I was hemorrhaging from laughter. Like
I have two fucking flat out humiliating stories that I'll fucking share with you right now about Ghostbusters. My obsession was grandiose as a child, and like I used to religiously watch the cartoon, and I would come home. I would bring my proton pack to school, and I was really into. I had like the actual toy proton pack, and I would bring that to school. And I used to, but I didn't have the ghost trap. I would make the ghost trap out of constructs. Remember constructs? I used to make it out of constructs. And when I would get to school, I would put on plays in the playground in front of the teachers and stuff like that. And I would reenact scenes from the movie and the cartoon. And they probably I can't even imagine what was going on in the heads of those teachers when they saw that. And then I know my great grandmother, I told her like, I told her like I knew a swear word. And she made me tell her what it was, and it was mother putz bucket, which isn't even a swear word, but I was a kid. I didn't know that. Yeah, oh god, that's so fucking. Both of those times, I
just walked around quoting it incessantly and drove my mum nuts, and played the soundtrack like endlessly on a loop, like the whole soundtrack on. Like I broke the fucking audio cassette because that's how fucking ancient I am. The audio cassette. In fact, I played it so much that I had a pet budgerigar. I think you guys call them parakeets, maybe like little fucking parrot birds that talk. Yep. And I played it so often, and this bird just was with me all the time that it used to go Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters. But it'd do it the way that the fucking song did it. And what would happen is when I came home from school, I used to open the cage and just let it fly around the house free, and it'd come and sit on my shoulder, and I'd do my homework with the bird sort of fucking stealing my work and stuff. And as soon as I put on the soundtrack, the bird would start fucking dancing, and it'd do this bobbing thing to Ghostbusters. And it wouldn't do it to every song, but the Ghostbusters fucking tune, it just fucking went nuts. And yeah, it got to the point where like my mum would just be like, close the door and turn it down. I can't hear that song ever again. But you know, I still played it just fucking endlessly.
So that's a fucking movie. Like my buddy Greg, who I've talked to, you know, we've discussed about doing some side stuff with him every now and then. But fucking, we'll still do that thing where like we'll just be in a car and just be like, you want some music? And just be like, just do that whole fucking scene for no reason. I'm such a fucking loser.
Yeah. It's just such a shame that fucking Ghostbusters 2 was such a piece of shit with such a good cast.
I disagree. I love Ghostbusters 2. I think the ending of Ghostbusters 2 is fucking super weak. But I think Ghostbusters 2 is fine. That's an argument I've never understood. I flat out don't understand it. But I do agree that the ending is weak. I think Vigo is cool, but the ending's kind of a wimp.
No, it just gets, that film just got tedious. I mean, in cinemas, it just got tedious. And I mean, I've seen it like plenty of times because I'm like, I want to like it. And I don't understand. I mean, I do understand why, but I'm not going to get into deconstructing Ghostbusters 2 right now. It'd be an hour-long fucking rant to you about, not understanding the characters and, I mean, that's the core of it, is that the film doesn't even understand the characters that were in the first film. And
I know Bill Murray, and most of the cast doesn't like it, so I'm probably wrong, but I just never really saw anything wrong with it. I've never understood why people don't like it. I do have a question for you, though.
And Dan Aykroyd was my fucking spirit animal. Like Blues Brothers, I can't. There was times when I watched Blues Brothers 3 or 4 times in a day, and I used to just Dan Aykroyd was my man. Just like you were talking about Chevy Chase. I mean, I like Chevy Chase a lot. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's some really great. I mean, Fletch is
great.
Bend over, Mr. Robot. Nice to meet you. I really fucking love Fletch. And I like, and Vacation. Obviously, the first 2 Vacation films are fucking great. Then they're just pieces of shit after that. But the first 2 are fucking dominant. But Dan Aykroyd for some reason was my guy. I
have a question for you, like real quick. Jeremy, I don't know if Jeremy was implying that we do this as like a show or just like just to play it off real quick right now and just list them off. He just said top 5 John Carpenter, which I'd be happy to just list off right now.
Oh, I can do that off the top of my head.
All right. Who wants to start? You want to start? I'll actually, you start.
You
gonna make me start? Okay. Number 1, Big Trouble in Little China, and I'm gonna go by my favorites.
Yeah. Number 1, The Thing.
Okay. Number 2, The Thing.
Number 2, Escape from New York.
Number 3, oh my god, my brain just fucking shut down. I just had a fucking mental shutdown. Jesus Christ. Number 3, rather, fucking In the Mouth of Madness.
Number 3, it's the Kurt Russell Triple Bill, Big Trouble in Little China. So the Kurt Russell films are my top 3.
My number 4, They Live.
My number 4 is Halloween.
And my number 5, Christine.
Nice. My number 5, Starman.
Nice. All right. There's our John Carpenter top 5.
Now, just to be clear, I love everyone. In the Mouth of Madness is the most fucking discussed and underappreciated fucking Carpenter thing. Because I, as much as I just named a top 5, it's only because we're not allowed to have ties that things like In the Mouth of Madness don't sneak in there.
Yeah.
They Live was one, funnily. Christine I fucking adore too. Christine, I every time I watch Christine, I walk away amazed at how much I've bought into the bullshit of the story.
Yeah.
Like, that's how well made that film is. Like, it's like how when you're reading the book and you're kind of inside the head, you're like, yeah, fair enough, I get. But to actually be watching on screen a killer fucking car and it not be done like Jewel. Like, Jewel does it very differently. Like, Spielberg's very smart in making Jewel, a shark movie. Even though we hadn't made the shark movie yet, you know what I mean? There's an existential fucking element to this thing. Jewel's very primal in what it's doing, but Carpenter doesn't fall back on that with Christine. He makes this car such a fucking character unto itself. That you just buy into it. You buy into the guy. I mean, show me.
That's a great line. I fucking love that line. That's such a great line.
That fucking line, that execution, the fact that the way the camera's behind him, like the camera angles in that fucking scene, like there's just. Yeah, I mean, even that scene where, Buddy's running down the middle of the road and you're like, what, how ridiculous is fucking this scene where he's being chased by the car and, he's not running off the road. Like, it's just, but it all works. Like, it's such a well fucking directed film. I can't even think of another director that could have pulled off Christine as well as he does. I mean, it's easy to, and They Live is a really interesting one because They Live is one that I liked the fight scene, of course, and the bubblegum line. And I liked what the film was about, the idea of the glasses that show you the truth and shit. But it seems so silly as a kid that I didn't really embrace They Live.
And I also, if I'm going to be honest, like, They Live is one of my favorites of his, But I do think it gets a little boring the second half. The second half tends to drag a little bit, I think.
But I now absolutely fucking love They Live. And a large reason for that is because you and I got to see it in 35mm at the fucking Brat.
That was awesome.
And seeing that film with an audience, because I never saw it with an audience the first time. I only saw it on VHS. Seeing They Live with an audience, and there are certain films that seeing them with an audience, it fucking elevates them. And They Live was one such film. Once I saw that experience and we were all calling back the lines, and yeah, they Live really fucking. It's now one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah,
and
They
I'll
Live
never
is
ever
great.
watch that film without recalling that experience.
Yeah, They Live is a fucking really good time. Yeah, it does. It does has like that weird lull towards the end, and then it picks up at the end. It's got like a weird like section of like 20 minutes of the movie where it gets a little fucking bogged down, but then it picks itself back up. They Live's got so many fucking great. The whole premise of that movie is great. I fucking.
Oh, yeah, the premise is fantastic. I mean, as I said, I am now of the fan. It's fantastic, and I was wrong as a kid. Which is so weird that now I'm an adult. I'm meant to be fucking more mature, but evidently it worked the other way.
Fucking Big Trouble in Little China.
I'm just trying to think what other Carpenter ones we love that we didn't list. I was really disappointed with Vampires.
Vampires is terrible. Ghosts of Mars is fucking terrible.
I mean, that's an Alan Smithy film, isn't it? Technically, I think even John Carpenter washed his hands of that one.
Fucking, I don't like Halloween. I don't like the Halloween. I think Halloween's fucking. I mean, I appreciate it for what it is in the fucking genre because it created a genre essentially. I just don't like Halloween. I don't think it aged well.
Jesus Christ! That film is so engineered it's a perfect horror film machine, perfect horror machine for me. Like every camera angle puts me on edge. The first Halloween is just such exceptional fucking cinema. Like it is such a visceral horror that film establishes just by putting a camera down low or up high, or the way those long shots, like that scene at the fucking clothesline.
I think
like it's the actual visual design of that film that makes that film frightening.
I think it has good shots.
Anything else in the fucking film other than the score.
You and I have got into Halloween a bit. Like I do like the score to Halloween, and I think it's got some cool shots in it. I think it's mainly just because I think slashers in general are a fucking very boring genre of films. I think slashers don't scare me. I like cheesy slashers. Like I like fucking titties out slashers, like fucking Slumber Party Massacre or Sorority House Massacre, shit like that. I think
they're the ones I don't like.
To me, like
that's why I don't like any of the Halloween sequels really, other than Halloween 2, and I hate the Friday the 13th films apart from the first one.
Yeah, I think like a slasher needs to be just like if you're gonna have like a premise, like I think a slasher is scary. If I get some dude fucking chasing you around for a month with a knife, like just fucking that's not scary to me. That's just more I don't know. I don't find that to be scary in the least bit. I think that genre's at its best when it's being campy and ridiculous. But that's just me. So.
Yeah, they're very rare. I mean, again, I agree with you. It's not scary. That's why Halloween's such a good fright machine, is because of the fact that it's the camera angles, it's the way the film's fucking engineered that actually makes it frightening. Not necessarily the fucking idea of the shape.
No.
It's just the fucking pure cinema. And fucking Chad, as always, Chad fucking calls me out because Assault on Precinct 13 could easily be my number 5. I don't know. Assault on Precinct 13 is so fucking magnificent. I think even last show, I love when a fucking kid gets killed on camera because it just lets me know that I don't know what to expect from a film. It just raises the fucking jeopardy because once they follow through with that early on, you're like, this film could fucking do any threat this film's making in suspense could follow through once you follow through on that once. And it just, that film just does it so nastily and establishes such a dirty, filthy fucking tone.
I think
score, Assault on Precinct 13's fucking score. It's hard to say what the best Carpenter score is. I mean, that'd be a top 5 in itself.
Yeah, that actually would.
We even got to see him live, which
that was amazing.
That fucking seeing him live in New York fucking City was so dynamite.
Yeah, that was great. I wish you could have made
the Boston show for that second time I saw him.
Yeah, that fucking show in New York was killer. That I think another underrated one. If I would have to put like another one that would be close up on the list too, would or tie it with maybe even They Live, would be Prince of Darkness. I think Prince of Darkness is another like underrated Carpenter flick. I don't think it's his best, but there's a lot of like really weird shit in that movie, and there's like a lot of really creepy stuff in it too. I remember like that movie scaring me a little bit as a kid. Like,
see, I as a kid it bored me. I mean, when I say a kid as a teen, I was maybe 16, 17. But over the years, so many people have talked about it that I decided to revisit it 2 Halloweens ago. And it bored me to fucking tears. I did not like Prince of Darkness. I mean, it's not his worst film because, you know, we've established that Ghosts of Mars exists and vampires exist.
Escape from LA.
The Ward. I mean, did you watch The Ward?
I mean, did watch The Ward. Yeah, The Ward isn't... There's no way he directed that. I guarantee, like, he might have been on set reading a magazine, but he wasn't directing that.
I mean, I'm hating that we're pissing on Carpenter in any way, but the truth is, that no one's fucking flawless. And
well, the truth of the matter is
and also, you know, I mean, is it that
he's got more misses than hits, honestly. Like, I mean, and we love Carpenter, but he's got more misses.
Well, talking about watching music biopics, I fucking did his Elvis film again. The Kurt Russell Elvis film.
I never saw that.
Made for TV movie, which I like because I'm such a fucking Elvis junkie that it's ridiculous. But it's so interesting how that film is totally the mythology. Like it plays to Carpenter's strengths in the fact that he isn't telling a true story in any way, shape, or form. He's just playing with the mythology of who Elvis was.
Yeah.
And creating this mythical love letter to the man where, you know, like the solution to him collapsing on stage isn't to start fucking taking truckloads of amphetamines and fucking becoming a drug addict. It's he needs more sleep, you know, or the fact that, you know, Scylla ends up leaving him not because he's fucking anything with a pulse, but because, you know, he's not around enough for her. You know, she just wants him around to play with the kids, you know, and it's like, so it's, you know, it's a film that's so full of shit and doesn't go into anything of what really Elvis was. But I love it because of that. And it's just interesting watching it. Like I watched it, like, I don't know, a few nights ago, is just how many of Carpenter's camera tropes and editing tropes are actually in that fucking film. He finds them in that film. Because if you watch like Dark Star, Assault on Precinct 13, you're seeing Carpenter develop his cinema language. Yeah. And I think the Elvis movie is actually where, ironically, the TV movie, the small screen film shot in fucking, you know, 4:3, is actually the one where I think he finds his language of cinema.
That's how I feel about Scorsese's Mean Streets. We've talked about that before, but that's how I feel about Mean Streets with Scorsese. Like you can see all the I'm going to do this from now on. You can see it, but like at an early stage. I think that's neat. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, we need to do top Scorsese films one day too. Mean Streets is in my top. Mean Streets sometimes is my number one. I'll just. I
like Mean Streets. I like it a lot, but it's like it's also very rough around the edges. So like
I love. That's what I love.
I know that's that's more your thing. Yeah. I think we should wrap this up though. But like we've got a lot of really good ideas, and everyone seems to be on board for like a retro cast. So I mean.
People have been talking. Oh, okay. Let's see. What have people been saying? Just quickly. Day live ends abruptly. That's true, but that's one of the
I like the way that ends. I think that's part of the best way of how it ends.
Yeah, Andrew chimes in that just about everything Kurt Russell has graced, which is pretty fair to a degree, although I could probably rattle off 10 or 15 that I didn't like.
Slumber Party Massacre 2. Hells yeah.
Sorry?
Your buddy Andrew there, Slumber Party Massacre 2. Represent. 100%.
Yeah, no, I ain't the cat. I mean, you know, the slasher films begin with Psycho. And then that great Bob Clark one that I haven't seen for fucking 20 years, but I need to revisit it. Bob Clark directed one and might be Black Christmas, might not be, not sure off the top of my head. And then the first Halloween, and that nearly ends my slasher film love. Like there's like 3 slasher films I really fucking love.
Yeah, I honestly.
I'm probably forgetting a ton that I just didn't realize. But yeah, I do not go in for the camp at all.
I love that's the only way I can get into the fucking the slasher. But if I had to pick if I had to make like a slasher list, like it would be very short. The best one would be the fucking Maniac remake with Elijah Wood. That's easily the fucking greatest one.
Oh shit!
That's the best one in my opinion. And then honestly,
fucking hell! I need to go and have a shower just because we said it out loud. Maniac fucking owns. That's got to be one of the best like that's up there with The Thing and fucking The Fly and stuff as best remakes. Which is funny how it tends to be horror films that do the best remakes, right?
Like The Blob. The fucking Blob is another one that no one fucking...
I wasn't as big on the Blob remake as a lot of people are. I didn't mind it. I actually, once you and someone else was raving about it a few years ago, I went and watched it again. I was like, maybe I'm wrong. And I mean, it's okay. It's not like it's a bad remake, okay? Like, There's clearly bad fucking horror.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near in my, like, it wouldn't make my top 10. You know, Willard would be one that's in my top fucking 5. That remake of Willard with Crispin Glover. Just for that fucking scene with the rats getting released on the cat. That fucking scene to Ben. Oh, god damn, that's fucking horrific.
I need to see that still. I've still never watched that one.
Oh, the Willard remake is fantastic.
I've heard good things about that.
Yeah. It's Snyder's fucking Dawn of the Dead. Which who thought that there could be a Dawn of the Dead remake that was even worthy of being in a conversation? Because Dawn of the Dead is such a fucking great film.
I like the remake better than the original Dawn of the Dead. I'm sorry.
I can't go out on a limb and say that because thankfully both have such distinct personalities that, like, even when I'm talking about like The Thing versus The Thing from Another World, I kind of love both of them, and thankfully they're their own jam.
Yeah.
And The Fly, you know, I mean, I love the original Fly, I love the remake of The Fly, and because both of them have very little in common other than that core narrative, I like them both. And yeah, the Dawn of the Dead's the same thing. But that unbroken fucking shot at the start, that aerial shot going up the road and around, it was also that shot was like one of the first times I'd ever seen that sort of shot. Like I'm trying to think of a film that had done it before, because it does that weird, like Zodiac does it really. I mean, Zodiac does everything perfectly. Like Zodiac's probably Fincher's best fucking film. But that shot where Zodiac, where the camera's tracking the fucking taxi, and it sort of goes, and it goes up on the aerial view. I think, if I remember, Snyder sort of does a similar thing going down the road, you know, to that open. I mean, that Dawn of the Dead remake just had such a good fucking opening. Like, that first 5 minutes just sets up, you know, everything about how bleak that film's going to fucking be.
And
it has fun too. It has so much fun.
The Evil Dead remake, again, that's another remake that I think is better than the fucking original. Like, there's very few remakes that I think are better.
Blasphemy. That one's just blasphemy. I mean, the Evil Dead remake's serviceable.
I think it's so good.
To say it's better than the original is just obscene to me, because that original just, I don't know.
Evil Dead 2, though, I mean,
again, it does come down to that individual personality. Like, Evil Dead remake felt like it could have been made by just about anyone, whereas Evil Dead could only have been made by Sam Raimi. And you know me, I like that fucking individual stamp on things. It's just such a unique vision by a one-off director.
Yeah, but I'm also like, I also think Evil Dead 2 is far superior to Evil Dead 1, and I'll watch that. When I watch the Evil Dead movies, I always watch Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, and I never bother with the first one. But as just almost like it never existed, like Evil Dead the remake, I enjoy it just as a fucking horror movie. It's just such a good horror movie. It's a really well-made movie, and it's fucking scary. And the main actor in that, she does such a good job of being terrified that whole movie. I just think it's a lot better than it gets credit. I don't think it gets enough credit.
Generic. That's serviceable but generic is sort of my opinion of the remake. I'm not going to say it's terrible at all, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like the first Evil Dead just because it walks that line between horror and comedy so fucking razor sharp. Whereas I do like the second one, don't get me wrong, because the second one is basically the first film with a truckload more money, and it becomes a Looney Tunes Bugs Bunny film. And that's my main problem with Evil Dead 2 straight away is there's not one scary scene in the film.
Yeah.
Like, it's all just funny. It's all comedy.
Yeah, it's a horror comedy.
And I do like comedy horror. Like, there's that interesting conversation to have about comedy horror versus horror comedy, right? Like, which foot goes first? And that one's definitely a comedy horror where the laughs are more important. Whereas, like, something like American Werewolf in London is the best horror comedy because when it's a horror film, it's fucking terrifying. Like that scene in the underground going up the fucking elevator. But when it's a comedy, it's fucking hilarious. And then it just rips your heart out, obviously, at the end. But yeah, I guess that I respond stronger to the horror film element of Evil Dead. And I actually I actually like Army of the Darkness better than Evil Dead 2.
Oh, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, I feel like
depending on the ending, depending on which ending we're talking about.
I feel like those are all so much fun, and the horror comedy genre is so much. I love the horror comedy genre, and we had that really great
horror comedy genre. The comedy horror genre, I'm less on.
Yeah.
Like, Tucker and Dale versus Evil is probably the best one of recent years that I can think of.
And it's funny that you mentioned that too. It's like, you know, like the horror comedy or comedy horror aspect of things, and then like when you mentioned Tucker and Dale that's obviously comedy horror. But then you also have something like The Frighteners, which is horror comedy, or fucking Arachnophobia, which is probably comedy horror, but it could go either way. I don't know how you would classify it. Arachnophobia is another one.
No. Well, firstly, The Frighteners is the Ghostbusters sequel we all deserved, and Frighteners is the best fucking Ghostbusters film other than the original Ghostbusters.
Yeah,
and
is awesome.
Yeah, and both of those, I mean, they're really good examples, especially I mean, I think actually both those examples you brought up are really fucking good for deciding which foot goes first.
Yeah.
Because when the Frighteners is funny, it's really fucking funny. Like anytime Jeffrey Combs is on screen.
Yeah.
But some of that Busey shit is really fucking dark.
It is. Yeah, and there's some good gore in it.
Black dark.
Yeah, you forget that like Frighteners is an R-rated movie. There's some really good there's some really good gore in that movie. And one of my favorite things, like when that movie came out, like I watched that movie so many times. One of my favorite things was like I loved like the Reaper design. And I loved when he pulled the fucking scythe out and bang it on the ground and the fucking blade. Like I love that. It was like the best thing in that whole movie. Fucking love that.
Peter Jackson is the closest thing to Raimi for the comedy horrors. Like Bad Taste 100%. Is fucking great. and Brain Dead is just fucking amazing. You know, like those are two of my favorite fucking, you know, those are, again, in that Evil Dead 2 genre. Like those are my fucking go-to. Early Peter Jackson. I mean, I'm a Meet the Feebles guy through and through as well. His early work is so fucking brilliant, and it's not to undersell that once you get, he's one of the few exceptions to the rule where when you chuck him money, you still get all the production value the money should show you. You know, there's no denying that Lord of the Rings is really expensive, but you look at the film, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. It's really fucking expensive. Look at how much is on the fucking screen.
Yeah.
And there's very few directors that can go from no budget and make a fucking masterpiece to fucking $200 million and make a fucking masterpiece.
And then go from having $200 million again and making fucking garbage. Like, it was so weird, like, how he went from making trash, then they give him the fucking Lord of the Rings movies to make, and then those, you know, he had to draw fucking The Hobbit out into 3 goddamn movies for some reason, and those were, I hated those. I hate those so much. Do you like those? I don't know if we ever talked about them. I didn't
mind. I mean, the fantasy genre is an interesting genre because, for me, anyway, there's a ton of fantasy films I love. The fantasy genre, and I'm talking like the sword and sorcery and you know, elves and fucking goblins fantasy. There's very few good fantasy films.
Yes.
But there's tons that are fucking entertaining as shit that I adore. Yeah. You know, like I watched Lady Hawk and Willow the other day because I needed some comfort food, which tells you how much I love those fucking films. And I've seen them hundreds of times.
I love Willow.
I love Willow. But they're both fucking, you know, you could pick those films apart for days about just bad fucking choices of, I mean, straight away the soundtrack to Lady Hawk, which I love as a standalone thing, and I've grown, it's grown to be so part of the charm of the film, but it's a total clash of fucking things. And, you know, I'm talking in really broad strokes, but the bottom line is that fantasy films, there's very few actual good, well-made fantasy films. There's a ton of really enjoyable ones that are, you know, I'm not going to use the term guilty pleasure because I think both you and I disagree with that term in any way, shape, or form.
We do.
Fucking life.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think Excalibur and Lord of the Rings and John Miller's Conan the Barbarian are probably the only good ones that are actually good fucking movies made well with, you know, from a technical point of view, with the cinematography and the acting and the everything else. And then the rest are not necessarily. And so when I look at The Hobbit, if I measure it against Lord of the Rings, I mean, the only fantasy thing better than Lord of the Rings is Game of Thrones. You know, there's Game of Thrones, there's Lord of the Rings. They're the two fucking best things on a pedestal, and no other fantasy things touch them. As far as in that sheer technical aspect of cinema, of cinematography, effects, sound design, choreography, you know, believability without breaking the fucking spell, all those fucking things. So, yes, Hobbit suffers by comparison to Lord of the Rings, but if I compare it to Willow, Lady Hawk, Beastmaster, fucking...
I don't know why you're I don't know why you're putting Willow in the same fucking camp as Lady Hawk and Beastmaster, because Willow is a fucking Ron Howard film that's got an amazing soundtrack. It's fucking gorgeous cinematography. Like, Willow is fucking awesome. Willow's a good movie. Willow's not like, I wouldn't put Beastmaster's fucking Mark Singer spinning a sword around 10 times and heel kicking someone in the face. Beastmaster fucking.
I mean, well, I don't know. I mean, Willow is goofy as fuck.
I don't know. I think Willow's one of the best. Willow's one of the better fantasy films. I think it like plays into the D&D because it was made in the 80s, so it's got like a really heavy D&D vibes.
Willow is one of my favorite films. Willow is my favorite Ron Howard film ever made, and Willow is one of my favorite films. I just don't. It's so fucking uneven. And like as much as I love, there's so much of that film that I believe is just because I saw it as a kid that I roll with. Like, I imagine if I saw Willow for the first time as an adult, I would go, what the fuck is Val Kilmer doing in this film? He's one of my favorite things in the film because I grew up with it. But he is so out of place in every way. He's so obviously a modern man in a wig. and his performance is so not in sync with everyone else's tone at all. And it's not. You're right. Putting it beside Beastmaster, which is obviously a C grade fucking film, is maybe a little unfair, but it's still not a fucking good film. It's a great fucking enjoyment, entertainment piece for me. But the point being, anyway, The Hobbit. When I compare it to other fantasy films in the genre, that was all my point was going to be. I think The Hobbit is fucking fine. It's not great, but if I want to sit down and have elves and fucking trolls and fucking all that jazz, its biggest flaw is its overuse of CG. Like its biggest flaw is the overuse of CG.
It's fucking abhorrent.
But again, if I'm going to go down that track of overusing CG, that's your old man shaking his fist at the clouds because CG is just the way it's fucking.
Jeremy Ty just chimed in on the fucking thing that I was actually going to say to you. Well, like we were talking about this when Legend. I know you hate Tom Cruise, so like that automatically negates it for you. But Legend, the fucking soundtrack, that movie is visually beautiful. Like the atmosphere that movie paints is fucking amazing, and Tim Curry is darkness. The practical costumes in that movie.
I love Legend despite Cruise, and for me, Cruise is actually perfect because he's this little puck that you meant to just fucking not take seriously.
And the weird thing about Legend is I prefer the theatrical cut because I like the Tangerine Dream score better, but the Jerry Goldsmith score has the director's cut's the better way for that movie to make sense as a movie. So it's a toss. I always watch that.
I agree with everything you're saying, and I agree that it's when Legend is good, Legend is fucking so incredibly well shot.
And never-ending story, Jesus Christ.
The atmosphere in that film is just beyond compare. Like there's moments where it's just you just want to pause the film and just put it on a fucking wall. It's gorgeous. It's so gorgeous to look at. It's a good.
Legend's one of those movies.
It's a good exception to everything I was fucking saying in every way.
Legend's one of those movies you and I talk about when we get into like a visuals and music that combine to make Legend's one of those movies I get lost in, and Neverending Story is another one of those movies where I just get lost in like the visuals and like the whole fucking Swamps of Sadness, like the practical effects and the fucking set design and the costumes and like the music, the score to that movie is just fucking amazing. But and also fucking Chad was talking about Ralph Bakshi's Wizards. I'm sorry, dude, but I fucking hate that movie. I've tried.
Shit!
I hate Wizards. I hate that movie. I do love Bakshi's Fire and Ice. I fucking love Fire and Ice. So Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice is better than Wizards, but I really love Wizards.
Wizards annoys me. Heavy Metal too. Heavy Metal is probably one of my favorite animated films ever.
Yeah, no, if we're including animated films in this fantasy discussion, Heavy Metal might be the best fantasy film ever made.
Easily.
I don't know if I'm speaking in hyperbole or not, but I have such strong affection for that film, and I know my affection for it isn't as strong as yours. And I fucking goddamn love Heavy Metal.
Yeah, Heavy Metal is
so. And but you know what? I don't think there's ever been a time I've watched Heavy Metal without Fire and Ice, either before it or after it straight away. It's just the natural double bill, and because both those films were on VHS. And I bought them both the same day. The first time I saw them, I bought them the same day, and I just watched them together. I don't know if I've ever watched them separately. To the point where if we got into picking them apart, I may well get the two meshed, even though visually they're so different. But Fire and Ice, fucking hell. Oh. Actually, Waldy got Dark Water too, just on a side note, which is another fucking one I love.
Oh, wasn't that? It's like a cartoon. That was a show, wasn't it? A series?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. But again, it was a cartoon, but I never watched it episodically because it came out on VHS as the complete series. So I just sat down and watched it as a 10-hour movie. And every time I've watched it, I've never watched a single episode. I've always watched the whole thing. So I don't even know how that would play to watch it any other way other than as one long narrative.
Yeah.
Okay. We've gone.
We have to. Yeah.
We're on topic somewhere.
Let's just wrap up because we can fucking literally do this all night. But I think this is fun though.
Just let me check the comments and just see if there's anything I need to chime in with. Top 5.
Well, that's all stuff I was.
Retrocast to be fun.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's why I was steering.
Okay, cool.
I've been monitoring the comments, so everything we've been talking about has been about the comments.
At least one of us does their jobs well. I'm such a fucking amateur. The Last Halloween. Good God, I hated that fucking film, and I love David Gordon Green, but I won't go into why at the moment. I'm sorry, just give me 2 seconds because dead air's so fucking attractive. Oh, look, yeah, Chad put up Pirates of Darkwater as well. Yeah, good old Chad. He always knows. And Jeremy always a fucking good input there.
Yeah.
That was fucking fun.
Yeah, man. And I think it's awesome that I'm glad that everyone's on board for like a retrocast type thing. Because we could definitely just bullshitted about nothing for the past half hour, and we could easily just keep doing that. So I would love to do something on the side.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this level of interaction that we never used to have when we recorded the podcast audio-wise. Like the fact that, you know, it's cool seeing everyone's fucking favorite lists and stuff coming up and fueling our conversation. And yeah, I mean, we bullshit about nothing, but we were told to, which is justifiable homicide, right?
Absolutely, 100%. So as of right now, the episodes, we're going to be putting the episodes as you see them. They're going to be streaming onto Facebook, and once they're done, you can watch them anytime you want on Facebook. They're going to be on the website, filmfrak.com, and we're going to be having them on our YouTube channel, which do we have, like, I don't know if we have an official, like, maybe YouTube/filmfrak, but we'll put a link to the Facebook page, or the YouTube. So many things. You got so many
I think I only set it up yesterday, but if you type Filmfrak into the search on, it's, you know, Filmfrak comes up first, and you can go and have a look at the channel there. And yeah, we're still toying with the idea of what we're actually going to do with a YouTube channel beyond just this, but I'm sure we'll find other things to put ourselves on camera for, fucking sure.
Yeah. I'm glad you guys are having a good time with us. It's really fun to have like an audience, like you said, to interact with as we talk. Cool, man. I'm glad you're digging some stuff and you got some new movies to watch. But yeah, like we'll be back in probably a week or two with another episode, and we'll fucking keep going.
Yeah. Let's pummel while what else are we gonna fucking do when we're in ISO, right? Let's fucking drag everyone else into our fucking realities. Thanks so much for tuning in, people. Had a ball.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.